guys, welcome to Cult Film Interview, the podcast where we discuss the films you love, but no one else gets, and we see if they still hold up. Tonight, we are starting a new transition. Tonight, we are starting a new tradition with Fan Pick February. And we're kicking it off with the Neverending Story. So let's start the show.
Hold on, I record one that's a little bit better.
Okay. That was a better one.
That was perfect.
That was perfect. Hey guys, thanks for joining the cult. We really appreciate it. Do us a favor, head over to iTunes, leave us a review. We will give you a shout out at the end of the show. After that, head over to cultfilmandreview.com. Check out our latest videos, pick up a shirt, do whatever you want there. Also put in your requests for reviews for things like Fan Pick February. Also, March 15th, we will be back at Film Bar here in Phoenix to show the masses Pink Flamingo. So make sure you guys come out for that when tickets are available. As always, I am joined by Kyle Smith.
Hey, how's it going?
Chris Willenbrecht.
Hey, what's up?
And Michael Salustio.
Hello, everybody.
Before we get into that, I did want to talk a little bit about the movie. Before we get into the movie, I should say, I wanted to talk a little bit about Fan Pick February. This is actually something that we recently decided to do because we've been getting so much fan picks. It's really hard for us to keep up with it, so we wanted to try to get as many done in 1 month as we could. So we're doing 4 this month for February, and then we'll have it back into the normal rotation. So hopefully we can get to as many as possible. So keep them coming, guys, because we're getting some really good picks, and these are some of the big ones, some big hitters. So we're gonna put these out there. And the first one is Neverending Story. It was directed by Wolfgang Peterson, came out in 1984, had a budget of $27 million US. That is, made $100 million in the box office, has a rating of PG, and currently sits at 82% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is Hedrick. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Okay. This is Sarah Hedrick's pick. Kyle, why did Sarah pick this film?
Well, strap yourself in, boys. It's a long one.
Hold on, because we have cameras now.
Yeah. There you go. That's excellent. Still plays well to a podcast.
Oh, wait. Click. See, people got it.
All right. Well, Sarah had to say, recently rewatched this trippy-ass movie with my kids, all 17 of them. My 8-year-old now needs therapy after watching the horse drown slowly in mud. And my 6-year-old now believes large rocks are sad turtles with no will to live. And oddly enough, this is the only movie my 2-year-old has ever watched from start to finish, which likely foreshadows a love of recreational marijuana and will contribute to his lifelong distorted perception of reality, but for real. The characters are quite interesting. Weird shit happens pretty consistently. I hate looking at that dog dragon's face, but is there a plot or just a series of odd scenes with the same boy? So that's why Sarah picked this movie. Well, Sarah, we will. You have a lot of questions you put on here about this film. Well, we are going to address your questions when we get to the meat and potatoes of our review today.
And before we get to the meat and potatoes, we gotta figure out what this movie's about.
Okay.
So it's time for Plots with Mike.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. The Never-Ending Story. Surprise, guys. There's an end. Spoiler. No, this stars a young boy. His name is Bastian. He's quite the imaginary type of kid, head in the clouds. His dad clearly has a problem with this. He says, you got to keep your feet on the ground kind of thing. You got to start being a little bit more of a man, I guess. I don't know. Kid, he's walking around. I didn't know what city this was. Anybody had an idea?
It was the city that when he's walking downtown, I don't know where it's supposed to be. They never say where it's supposed to be, but where it was shot, I think, was Vancouver.
It looks like Canada.
Yeah, that is Vancouver.
Yeah.
It was shot in like Vancouver, a little bit in Spain and Germany.
Okay, all right. So I don't know if that's the setting, but let's assume kid lives in a big city, and he's also bullied by some kids who chase him, and they chase him into a garbage can, and then he gets out of the garbage can. Lo and behold, the kids are still waiting for him, and they chase him into this bookstore. And the guy who owns the bookstore, at first he's kind of like, "Get out of here, kid! I don't sell to people that aren't interested in books." And Bastian basically explains to him, "Hey, I'm a huge fan of books. I've read Treasure Island. I've read them all, man. I'm a big lit fan." And so the guy's like, well, that's interesting. And he tells him about this book that essentially makes you part of the story. And this intrigues the kid. So he grabs the book, he steals it from the guy, and he runs to school, and he hides up in the attic for the day and basically just starts reading this book and reading the story of this place called, what was it?
Fantasia.
Fantasia, I'm sorry. And how it's like starting to disappear, and a hero named Atreyu comes, and he goes on a quest to basically save Fantasia, and also this childlike empress who has fallen ill from a sickness. And that's pretty much how it is. Like, the kid reads the book, and it's kind of like The Princess Bride a little bit. Like, the main story happens in the story of the book, and the kid is kind of like the back, like he's like almost like the narrator. But there's more to the story, as we will learn.
Yes.
Dude, one thing I forgot to do, and silly me, it's fan pick. And it's a new tradition, so we're learning this.
Okay.
I forgot to ask because I feel like everybody has seen this before. So let's ask: when did you remember when you first saw it, or when the last time you saw it?
The last time I saw it before this was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago.
That's really recent.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I felt it necessary to show it to Sammy when we first started dating.
Because you'd never seen it before.
Yeah, she said she had never seen it
Yeah.
before, and I don't know how it came up and how it came across our radar, but I made her watch it, and I find out, a week ago when I went to sit down and watch the movie that she absolutely hated it and
Oh man.
has no desire to watch it again. And I was
Wow.
like, oh, he didn't voice that opinion then, but dating.
Interesting.
Did she give you a
I
reason
don't even
why?
know you anymore.
Huh?
Did she give you reasons why she hated it? You don't have to tell us now, but
No,
No.
not really. She just, that's just kind of how she is. She's
Yeah.
hot or cold, hates it or likes it type of thing.
yeah,
So.
she's yes or she's no. She's in or she's out. So she's down. Chris, do you remember the last time you saw it, or maybe the first time you saw it?
I mean, the first time I saw it, I used to get babysat as a kid. And
Shut up.
Yeah, I
You
did.
too?
So a lot of so a lot of time was spent watching movies, and this was one of those movies that was always on. That probably once a day, and I mean, I remember this movie as a young kid, and like I might even go as far as to say it may be one of the first movies that made me feel a real emotional reaction to something, at a young age, like to a film.
Yeah.
So.
What about you, Mike?
This is one of those films that had like heavy rotation in my childhood. It was like this, The Dark Crystal, Big Trouble in Little China. Like, those are the big heavy rotation films. This might even be the number one I remember watching as a kid, and namely because this kid Bastian was like, I identified with that kid so much because I was not like a great like student at the time. Like, I had ADD, I had a hard time like really paying attention, and I was a big like dreamer and imaginer. People would always catch me daydreaming and not paying attention.
You still do that today.
No, absolutely. It hasn't gone away. But yeah, like this kid is like the same way. He's less interested in that kind of stuff, and it makes this kid out to be a hero. And there's a part of it that, like, I think as a child that really, really appealed to me. Because it couldn't even look like me as a kid. Like, I think I had the same friggin' weird bowl cut haircut. Yeah. Yeah.
I probably I remember this being heavy in the rotation too for me as a kid. I don't remember the first time I saw it or where the first time I saw it. I just remember seeing this movie a lot as a kid, like just a ton. And then it fell off, and I haven't seen this movie in years. This is the first time I haven't even tried. This is a weird one where I haven't even tried to like have my son watch it, and maybe it's because, like, as you said earlier, I had a strong reaction to it emotionally. And it's a particular scene when I was a kid, and we'll get to that, a little bit later. But maybe that's the reason why I've never shown it to him. But yeah, it's weird. This is the first time I've seen this movie in probably, goddamn, like, who knows, probably over 10 years. Over 10 years,
I would
easily.
say it probably has been at least 8 to 10 years for me too.
I did want to
for
add
me as
that.
well.
I did want to add that even though it was like a year ago last time I saw it, I realized while watching it this time that I've seen the sequel way more than I've seen this one. Because
2 or 3?
2.
I'm
'Cause
sorry.
there's a lot of things that I'm like, when does that scene happen? I'm
Really?
like, that's the second one.
Really?
Like,
Yeah, like,
he's-
where's the baby? Where's the Barack baby?
I was looking for the rock baby. Yeah, the rock. Yeah, for sure.
Where's the rock biter baby? Where's that?
And I
at?
was like, isn't
Yeah.
this kid supposed to be in this world the whole time? Like, and that's the second one.
yeah, it is the second.
Mhm.
I had the same thing. I was like, well, dude, when does Bastion go there? And it
Yeah,
was
I'm
the
like,
second one, yeah.
I'm just watching this kid read in a dusty attic. Like, when's the action gonna
Really?
start? You know?
Well, that's the funny thing too is this movie is actually based off a book called The Neverending Story, and this movie is essentially
It's offensive.
yeah,
Offensively written.
is actually the movie is actually the first half of the book. It's not even the whole book. Part 2 is basically the second half, but they took a lot of liberties, and then 3 is just all liberties and nothing to do with any of the book.
Oh.
It's just- we just keep making money with this.
Yeah.
So,
So wait, the second movie is part of the book?
Apparently, yeah,
Okay.
but very like not very true to the book, but
Oh,
has-
okay.
not author approved.
Yeah, has
Got
the
it.
elements,
It's like
you know
Return to
what I mean?
Oz is like, oh yeah, I guess
Yeah.
there's some elements of the
Yeah.
book.
Right.
That's interesting because there's when we discussed the ending, there's some weird stuff in it,
Okay.
and it made me want to think like, wait a
There's-
second, like, did they ever address this stuff in the second? I couldn't remember. I haven't seen the second one in a really long
Yeah,
time.
the third one's got Jack Black in it. I own the third one on VHS
Yeah.
and never have watched it, so I want to go watch it because I've never seen the
I
third
recall
one.
it being like very bad.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
It's got to be horrible.
I've never seen the third one, but yeah, I'm like looking at screenshots right now on my phone of the second one. Like, yeah, these like creepy like giant monster beast things. Like, I remember that so vividly and shit. Like, yeah, I feel like I've seen this movie maybe once or twice as a kid, and then the
You-
second
yeah,
one like
you were
8
watching
million times.
Yeah, you were watching 2.
And I was like, yeah, Neverending Story. Didn't realize it was the sequel.
Huh. That will happen. Let's do this. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will talk more about the Neverending Story. And we're back. We're talking about the Neverending Story. Came out in 1984. Budget of $27 million in the U.S. This is actually the largest budget film at its time not to come out of the U.S. or the Soviet Union.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's something
That's
to
an
think about
interesting fact.
as we're watching this film
Yeah.
in our heads as we talk about it.
I already watched it, so didn't
Yeah.
get a chance to think
But
about it
we're-
then.
We're also watching it. It's very. We'll talk about it at the end here. So yeah, this big thing that Mike brought up in the beginning of the show that I feel like must be discussed right off the bat if we're going to talk about this movie, because it's going to answer some of Sarah's questions. I think later on, me personally, is how I
Mhm.
feel. Is the fact that the big thing that's revealed in the beginning of this film, as we see, Bastion going and having this talk with his dad, is that his mother has passed away.
Yes.
We don't know from what or when. I'm assuming somewhat recently, but a little time has passed.
Feels like maybe a year.
Maybe
Yeah.
a year?
Yeah, because the dad comes off real cold about it.
I don't think so.
I don't know, man.
know.
80s
He's a little
dads.
like, gotta get over it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, fuck.
This was a very stimulating conversation. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Jesus.
Well, what do you expect
Christ,
from a
what
guy
dad.
that blends eggs into orange juice?
Yeah.
Did anyone else stare at that?
That
Oh.
really affected me as a kid.
I
I
was-
remember.
Yes, even as a kid, I
Yeah.
remember
I don't
being
remember
like,
that.
I don't understand why he's doing that.
It took me out of the scene because I just kept staring at
Protein,
the
yeah.
blender. I'm like, it's just
Protein?
getting whiter because those eggs getting whipped.
It's
You're-
just
you're-
making a
you're-
goddamn frappe out of that.
You're halfway to a meringue right now, buddy. You want to stop that
Oh.
blender?
I think it's supposed to demonstrate like the struggle of him being like
The egg and orange juice?
No, the only dad.
like an only dad like that just kind of doesn't really know how to kind of take care of himself. He's
You don't
like
think this is like a weird '80s thing that people were
It's just
doing?
a weird
like a
80s
like a
thing.
The health
health
thing?
thing?
Yeah,
Like
because
a-
I feel like
Yeah,
this is
dude.
like
I think
you
it
know,
totally
Rocky
was.
Hold on.
2, I think,
That's like
or
Brett-
Rocky 4. one of
that's
those.
like-
All Rockies.
all the
did
Rockies, I
eggs.
guess.
That's he just literally drank his breakfast.
Yeah.
That's all he did.
He took an egg,
Yeah.
dumps it
He's
into
a
some
busy guy.
orange juice,
Yeah.
blends it, drinks it.
He's
You-
got to go to
you
work.
could- you know what?
He's
You-
a single parent, Mike.
Here's the thing. You could do that with those 80s eggs. You know? Those
You
80s
could
eggs.
drink
80s
80s eggs.
80s eggs were drinkable.
Before
Yeah.
we lost the Cold War and everything became nuclearized,
re-
yes.
I remember that being like a staple of this movie for me, though, for some reason.
That's a
just like the
funny
idea
staple.
of doing that, I'm like, ooh, gross.
See, as a kid, I never. Here's the weird thing: is as a kid, with all the death that's in this film, because there's a lot of it.
Kicks you right in the face with it.
But I never picked up. I don't remember picking up on that as a kid that his mom died.
Oh, I knew that his mom died.
Yeah.
It just, but even as an adult watching it, I was kind of like, this doesn't like become like it's a weird driver. It's a driver that you forget in the movie.
Yes.
Like it's something that throughout, because there's so much of it actually takes place in a totally different world with different people that like you forget. You're like, oh yeah. You always have to be reminded, like, oh yeah, your mom's dead.
Yeah.
like that's a thing with you. Or should be.
Yeah. And it's kind of, I think it's also a thing. I think it is also a thing with the dad. So that's why the dad reacts the way he does. I didn't take it as cold. I just took it as misguided. Like he cared about his son, but he didn't actually know how to talk to him about.
He's doing his best.
He didn't know how to talk to him about the death of his mother because he's still reeling from it himself. He lost his wife.
There you go.
He's putting that wall up right now.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's. I think his dad is
He's
just
gonna tear
meant
it.
to be rigid, which is like what kind of starts playing into this whole.
So it does play into the story. No,
Characterization.
it plays into the story. It does.
I think it's more of that. I think it's I think he's characterized as just more, buy the books,
Yeah.
go to school, because I do think the loss of the mother plays into that, because I mean there's less he has to worry about in terms of controlling and in terms of adulting and parenting this
Mhm.
kid. You know what I mean? When if the kid's on a straight path as he wants him to be, where he's just doing his homework and he's not creating a lot of noise for him to deal with.
Actually, I remembered him being more rigid as a kid when I watched this, but going back and seeing it now, I thought, oh no, there's some nuance to like the dad's performance that makes me think he's just doing the best he can. I actually didn't think he was cold, I just think he was kind of like, yeah, like what you were saying, we're still reeling from the pain. So
Mhm.
he's like, look, we talked about it. We got to get through this,
Yeah.
He's
definitely just-
kind of leaning on his kid in a sense to be like, yeah, we're going to do it together. But, ultimately, like at the end of the conversation, he's like, this was a really good conversation. We should do this more. It feels like the dad thinks he had a breakthrough with his son in that moment.
I took that actually. I felt when that conversation ended and he said that, I took that more as like that was a really uncomfortable conversation for him to have.
Mm.
Like that felt really awkward.
Oh, I agree with that.
And I also
Yeah.
think, I mean, it plays into like what essentially
The story, yeah.
is like, I feel like his big character trait, which is like, I think this film a lot is about like the loss of innocence, and I feel like the dad's actually basically like, all right, man, you got to grow up, kid. Like, you got to be the other man of the house, and your life's over. You can't go out and have fun all the time. Like, it seems like he's telling him, like, hey, man, I need you to like help me out here. And in that, he like kind of starts ceasing to be a kid. The only place he's got are these books.
Yeah. Yeah, because in a way, I took it that way too, as like, hey, like, time to move on. Like,
Yeah.
I know bad things happened with mom, but we can't hide in this
Right,
in
in
this
the-
world
yes.
anymore. It's time to move on in his own way. He didn't say it maybe the best way, but in his own way,
I thought that was part of the story. I also thought like the even bigger part was this is all like a metaphor for like giving up on your dreams.
No, I would agree with you. I think there's a lot of themes. I think that's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely think that's one of them. Because basically what happens is then his dad tells him don't be late for school. He goes to school and he gets bullied, thrown in a trash can, and then runs and hides in a bookstore where he turns into a little fucking thief.
Yeah, but he
Essentially,
leaves a nice note. Leaves a nice note though.
Well, you know what? And this is something that see as we were talking about, like those of us who hadn't seen it like very recently, like as a kid, I never picked up on this, but like I remember the old man. I remember a lot of the lines the old man gave, but this is the first time that I noticed that the old man was like kind of beckoning Bastion to take the
He was
book.
like he was, he was
Yeah.
baiting him
He's
for
baiting
sure.
him.
baiting
Yeah.
him to do it. And as a kid, I always took it as like, oh, he stole the old man's book. That poor old, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and now I
Yeah.
look at it and it's just like, oh, he's got the smile on his
Yeah.
face. Like he's clearly like, because even at first when he starts talking about the book, he goes into this long tirade about how the book works, and he's like, but you wouldn't be interested in that.
He's luring him.
The way as I remember as a kid came into my mind as an adult. And I was just like, why the fuck did you tell him that? Like, I was like, oh shit, brings a whole new layer to this movie
Mm-hmm.
that I never thought about.
Yeah. It's very Inception right there. You know what I mean? Like it gets
I
I
turns
wouldn't
into,
call it an
I don't know if that's an
inception.
inception.
turns into the Matrix at that point right there. You know what I mean? Does. It's
Kinda
craziness.
does.
Craziness. Yeah, no, so he steals this book, a little shit steals it. Then he goes to school because I don't care who you're stealing's bad.
Yeah.
Then he goes to school and looks in the tiniest school window I've ever seen. That I've never seen one like that
I know.
before. I was like, dang,
It was
dude,
like
that's
that school used to be like a
prison. Yeah. I was like, where's the meal slot?
I know.
On the door, but it sees that they're getting a math test, and he's like, F it. I'm going to the school attic that has a shattered key just hanging there right next to the door. I wish that was my school.
I know, me too.
There was like a
Right?
drama department.
I remember
like,
it,
threw up
yeah.
in that attic.
I remember even as a kid though thinking like that was a cool idea. Like, oh man, you like sneak out and like
Yeah.
hide,
I
never go to
dude,
class.
And realizing that
I
like none
remember-
of the
Gotta
schools you
find
go
my-
to are
yeah.
gonna be like
Yeah.
the ones in movies.
Not at all.
I literally remember as a kid being like, dude, I can't wait to sneak away in the attic at
Yeah.
school when I go to school.
Mhm.
Like, no school has an attic.
No.
Not like that.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Maybe in 84 they did.
I don't know.
You know,
Let's
maybe
talk about this
84 they
attic.
did.
He gets up to this attic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like suits of samurai armor.
Oh yeah.
And like fossilized dragons.
Yeah.
I'm like looking at it, I was like, this is not school play material. Like, why the fuck does this school
Dude, in
have
19
a full set of like samurai armor?
Sick.
And, listen,
Doing some heavy
for
duty
cultural
plays.
week.
that's
Yeah.
that was in 80. It was in 84 when we actually funded our schools. And and that's the result right there. You get
You get samurai
you get-
armor
you
and
get a very eccentric rich man or lady's attic
Yeah.
on top of a school. Mike is what you get.
Merlin's actual cloak.
Yeah, it starts flying. It's like when Doctor Strange finds his
It's-
flying cloak. It has a life of its own.
Dude,
Yeah.
it is a weird. It is a weird attic.
It should
because
be in a museum, I feel like.
It feels like
weird.
it almost feels like it's
Is that
like
the Ark
it
of the
does.
Covenant.
It does feel like this weird cross between like a house attic and like a library attic in a weird way, and like just
It's
like
the fucking coolest attic ever. I mean, it's supposed to be like, there's a lot of sets in this movie that you can tell are built on a
Mhm.
set, like, and this is one of those constructed, like the things that make kids dream and go, oh, I want to go someplace like that. But then when you grow up, you realize like those places don't exist. Hollywood just made them cool like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
very soul crushing. Thanks
Thanks,
for bringing
Chris.
that back,
Thank
back
you.
up.
Now I'm really.
But nothing's
now
actually
there's
that
really
cool.
no reason to live anymore.
I
Yeah.
get to go home to my shitty house that isn't an attic full of armor.
So he just decides to skip school and go up there and read a book. I have a problem with this. And
Him
my-
reading a book?
No.
Jesus.
No, here is the point where I'm just like, throughout this whole movie, I question now as an adult. Didn't as a kid. This is a different questioning now.
Oh,
watching this as an
no.
adult, but as an adult, this whole time I'm like, is no one looking for this child who's supposed to be at school or home afterwards? There's a fucking storm going on outside like crazy. Yet this father, he's not looking for his fucking son who's not home for dinner yet, or
It
the street
was-
lights are on.
It's
there-
absolutely what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole movie, I
Again,
thought
you're
this.
right. And as a kid, never dawned on me. Now I'm looking at like, he never got home. Like, why isn't there like a fucking manhunt at
Yeah.
this point? Kid's been
Oh.
up there the whole time. And not only that, it's like he doesn't even care.
Yeah.
He's not even thinking like maybe my dad needs to know where the fuck I am. And like he could have went home and still read the book. I don't understand why he had to stay there.
That's why I'm
Yeah, that's what I
wondering if
couldn't
like
wrap my head around. I thought he was going to leave when the school got out.
Yeah.
He would just go finish his journey at home.
Yeah, it's a book. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, you bring it with you.
It's like a fucking week later, and you know, Channel 5 in the sky is up there flying, and they're like, "Oh my God, we found the missing child. He is on it looks like he's on a dog dragon, and he is flying through the city." Just like a week later, it's the sequel. That's how the sequel starts. You guys don't remember that?
Oh no.
Bastion's Journey Home. It's
I
called.
feel like if J.J. Abrams remade like a sequel to this movie, that's exactly how it would start. Like Cloverfield, but like you're just seeing like a luck dragon flying through the air.
Yeah.
A young kid with a book.
But yeah, it's one thing that just the whole time I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But he basically starts reading the book, and this is when we start getting into the Neverending Story. What we find, what opens up, and probably with my favorite character, and I think it's my favorite character because of the sequel.
Oh, the Rock dude?
But it's the Rockbiter, dude. I fucking
Yeah.
love the Rockbiter, but I think he has like a bigger role, and he's more
he definitely
more
has
lovable.
he
Yeah.
has a much bigger role in the
More-
other one.
Yeah, more lovable in 2, and that's what I remember. I didn't remember him from 1, and
Mhm.
then, like, he's very lovable in the beginning because he's kind of goofy. Strolling through like this fucking burnt out forest, destroying it on his big ass stone bike.
I
And
love that bike.
I
Yeah,
love
it's
that
so
bike
cool.
too.
Cruising.
It's cool, dude. It's just a cool visual.
Yeah.
But you know, before you see him, but like you get the other people that you get the weird fucking goblin looking dude who has a bat, a huge fucking
I love the
6 foot bat.
Yeah, I love the racing snail.
Dude, I thought the racing snail had more in this movie.
Probably the second one, maybe.
And I thought the same thing.
I
I'm
think
like,
you maybe did the same thing I did. You thought you were watching number 2 this whole time.
maybe.
Yeah.
Because I was like, dude, I thought the snail had like, there's a lot with the snail like racing around and all this stuff. It's like one scene.
Really?
That's also like childhood imagination. Like you just
Probably,
latched
yeah.
onto one object. And you're just like, the whole movie was about this fucking snail.
No, it-
The
racing
snail just
around.
fucking racing around.
It's true though. No, I definitely thought the same thing. But and here's the thing, I can guarantee you I mean I can't guarantee you, but I haven't seen part 2 like nearly that much. I don't remember a single scene from part 2.
I couldn't name
So
one.
but as a like watching it now, I thought the same thing. Like wasn't the snail like a big character in this movie? And I think it is. I think it's exactly what Kyle said. It's like your childhood memory.
Is blending the two together.
Like you loved the snail. So for some reason you always had memories that the snail was like a big part of the film.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, interesting.
I even thought
did
even the
not.
rock dude, I was kind of like, wasn't there more rock?
I mean,
dude
shit.
in
I
this
do that with I've caught myself doing that with a lot of movies that I
Yeah.
rewatch from my childhood. I'm just like, yeah, no, what child Kyle remembered is way fucking off on this one. Like,
Yeah.
Ciao, Cal.
Child Kyle.
Child Kyle.
Chaka.
Mm-hmm.
And you find out that they're basically escaping what's destroying this world, which is known as the Nothing, which is just a terrifying swirling black cloud that is
It's just wind.
Make-
Looks like
Make-
the worst storm you've
making
ever
It's
seen.
bad. Yeah.
it's literally making things not exist anymore.
It's the wind from Evil Dead.
Now, does anybody
At some
else?
points, yeah.
Yeah.
When shot at the right angle, it certainly is.
It feels like this is iconic. This thing, I feel like this cloud. I feel like
Oh, the
was-
cloud effects?
Yeah, I feel
Fucking
like that
solid.
that look like
Ugh.
is burned into my child brain.
I was just staring at it during the credits because just seeing because I was trying to like picture like how they actually pulled off the effect and stuff, and it's just
Yeah.
it's so mesmerizing how they make these clouds just swirling around into like circles and shit, and like that was
different
fucking
colors.
awesome.
They use it several times throughout this movie.
Yeah.
that same
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
This is like one of my favorite effects in this movie.
But even the way they cut the film, like when they're telling the story of what the Nothing is, and they cut to the cloud, and it's this like basically like a tornado of chaos, and and the sound gets all intense, and then it sharply cuts back to what they were doing before. I'm like, that's kind of what made this movie scary. I
Mhm.
feel like is the way they edited it and the way that they like used the music and the sound. Like,
Oh yeah,
to-
definitely.
like. It's got some horror elements that I kind of didn't remember.
I did
Oh,
have
I
some. I
did.
did have some qualms with when you're talking about like music and sound because there were a few points in this film where it was like a fucking crescendo and then like it just immediately
Yes.
hard cuts to next scene. It's just like, wait, what?
I agree.
fuck
I
just
know
happened?
exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
no, I know exactly. Yeah, I agree.
I do not.
It's bad if we all know
Yeah.
it.
Cody doesn't agree.
That's what I remember.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Just
right.
fucking
Yeah,
rocking
fucking
out.
kill
You're not
me.
gonna spend any more
Kill
time
me with that fucking
singing
song.
in it, are you?
How
No,
many
I will.
credit sequences do you know that just play just a song? Like they're like, this is the song, this is the jam.
We just reviewed it recently.
Yeah, Neverending Story.
No,
right now.
Teen Witch.
Oh yeah.
just
Yeah,
the
how-
whole song.
That was the
plays in
entire
beginning.
song
song.
of the credit roll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, where have
It's
you
like
been
4
this whole
minutes
show?
and
That's like
45-second long credit roll.
It's like
I know,
50%
but
of all
all-
cold films only have one
Literally,
song.
all
in it
we
played
got
over
was
and over again.
clouds.
What's going
a
on?
song and credits. That was it. It wasn't like a very
Well, I like
intricate
it. I like it because
sequence.
it is a throwback, obviously,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
to films of the 50s and 40s and shit, where it's just that you got all the
Right.
credits up front, and
Yeah.
usually it was like these really cool looking mats that were fading in and out and shit,
Oh,
and like,
yeah.
and that's just kind of a continuation.
sets
of
you
it.
up. It sets you up for
Yeah.
the mood of this film.
Now, this is what I remember the most from this film from the childhood too. For some reason, this scene is always burned in my head. It's when the bat and the goblin creature they go and they're seeing what's going on at the Emerald Castle, and is it Emerald? Is that right?
No, I
No,
think you're
it's
thinking of
the-
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, it's the.
It's something like that
the,
though. It's some fucking
tower.
The
It's
Empress
Tower.
Tower?
No, it's the.
Tower of the Emperor?
Tower of Power.
No, it's
Power
the,
of Tower.
Hold on.
Ivory Tower.
The Ivory Tower.
Ivory Tower. See, dude, that's too close.
No,
to
it's not.
The Wizard
Not
of
Not
Oz.
One's a
even
gem.
close.
One is a part of a. It's a tusk.
Oh my God, how many elephants did they kill to make this cat? See, this movie's darker than we
That's the
thought,
thing.
guys.
One big one.
See,
Yeah.
this movie's
The
darker
Rock
than we
dude
thought.
actually originally had tusks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
They-
harvest
they
they
harvested
harvested
off the
for
rock
fu-
biters.
And
Off the
he
rock biters.
willingly gave it to them because he's a good rock man.
Yeah.
Cody, God, trying to make everything all dark and shit.
So they go, but this is the scene I remember. I remember the most from my childhood is when the guy comes out and he talks about the Empress being sick, and you get all these strange looking characters with
Dude.
like multiple faces
Like
and
great
like
ones, like
they look so good.
The
So
costuming was
looking, dude.
awesome.
like it's funny too because there was that when you see the two big stone
The
heads.
Yeah.
yes.
Immediately, I thought about like communion for a second because it was kind of like those creatures, but like if they took their cowl off and they're like, "This
Yeah.
is what we do when we grow up," like we look like this. It's just like, but they're so intricate and they're so
well
Yeah.
done. There's just
Grand.
yeah,
Yeah.
and everything
Everything's
else
just
is like
grand.
almost practical, like the three heads and the four heads.
Yeah.
It's all practical.
Well,
yeah.
that's what I
No,
like.
no, what I mean like is like the three heads look like there actually are maybe like they did something where two people were like just body like you know what I mean,
okay,
like
so
and they
you
had
mean-
something in the middle.
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Mm.
I thought it looked
Hmm.
like just like masks, like on the other side.
Well, the
but-
forehead one, I'm talking about the one where it's like two heads like connected like side to side,
Gotcha.
and they have one eye in the center. The one eye you can see is fake, but the other two eyes look real,
Mm.
which lead me to believe like is it just like two people like
Yeah.
back to back? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For such a short scene, they do give you a lot of.
Dude.
They do, and the practical effects work so well because even like on the masks, like you could tell. The thing, it's like it's forgivable because you could tell that it's a practical effect, but like the skin, the way the flesh that was on these masks was like reacting to the environment, it just
Mhm,
felt so cool and felt so nice. Like it wasn't like that's the thing. Like I don't know why it just feels real, obviously, compared to CG or
Except
something.
for the
so.
main dude who looks kind of fucking ridiculous.
Which one?
The dude that's just like the Empress is like the one that he
Yeah.
just looks like a dude that like dressed like had a bad costume at like
Hey, dude,
a party or something.
he looked like
what are you?
he looked like one of the, he looked like a
Mr. T.
grand
Not
master.
Mr.
He
T.
looked like
He looked like a grand
he
master
looked
from
like
one of Kyle's kung fu movies.
No, he looked like the what? Who's the chick who sings the heroin song in Tommy Boy? That's what he looked like.
The heroin song.
Yeah,
I don't know.
song about heroin and Tommy Boy.
Oh God. I don't
with
know.
I don't think there's any heroin song in the movie Tommy Boy starring
No, Tommy. Tommy.
That's what you meant.
Tommy, the Who, Tommy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
Her
God.
costuming looked just like.
he kept on saying Tommy Boy. I'm like, there's
Yeah,
no
like,
heroin.
There's
yeah.
no.
Did I say Tommy Boy?
yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
meant
Tommy Boy. I'm
Tommy.
like,
That
I
is
don't
a
remember
yeah.
any time
Really-
where David
See,
Spade sang a
again, I'm
song.
coming back to what our childhood remembers. You know? Go back and rewatch it, guys.
It's in there. Okay. But this is also where we meet our hero, Atreyu.
Yep.
Who is we're going to be on the journey with for the rest of the movie. But they sent for the greatest plains warrior, and they got a child, and they weren't expecting a child, but that's who they got, and he
That's- I mean,
apparently is their best warrior.
That's how magic works.
That's how magic works.
You ask
Yeah.
Magic for something, they give you the thing you least expect.
yeah,
Turns out to be exactly what
Yeah,
you wanted. at the
magic
end.
turns out it has a sense of humor.
You always have to have a journey with magic.
and basically, Atreyu goes on this quest to save, Fantasia from destruction of the Nothing, and to basically heal the Empress.
Right.
And
Yep.
he has to go on this journey. And I think is it Mora? I believe that's the turtle's name. Was that like just the original goal? I can't remember if that was the original goal.
No,
or...
the thing is, he says, Empress is very sick. I don't know what's wrong with her. And here's the thing, I also don't know what fixes her. And he said, but you're going to find it on your journey. And he says, well, maybe Mora will know. She knows she's like the oldest creature in all of Fantasia or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's the reason. There's one who might know the answer, and that's like the first guide that he says. For some reason, he put some ridiculous rules on him, like you can't bring any weapons.
Yeah.
Like I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Let him bring his friggin' bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Didn't he have a weapon on him though?
No.
He did. He had a bow and arrow
Yeah. He
Oh, I
he
thought he
shows
did
up.
the
because he
rest
was
of the
hunting
movie.
the
Nope.
purple buffalo.
I thought he still had like a knife on him the rest of the movie, like
No.
part of costuming.
No, that's
No.
later. But that's a That's not his knife. Yeah.
No, okay.
He
But
does use a knife.
This is where we come, I think, to the most traumatic part of the movie. Is after he's
Happens quick too.
man, he
Oh,
jumps.
they throw you right into
They
it.
throw you right into it. He jumps onto this journey. At first, I was like, God damn, this is a boring book because it just shows him like wandering through different environments over and over again. Like this kid's just reading the Lord of the Rings. Like
Yeah.
this poor child. And then it gets to the swamp, and that's
Mhm.
when everything fucking changes in there. And I think it is point of the movie too, and it goes back to killing the innocence thing too. I think it helps a child with that because it definitely scarred me for life. This is very traumatic for me as a child, and this is the why. I said it earlier in the show. This is why I think the scene that I have of why I have not showed my son this movie was because of the scene. So as he's going through this swamp, it's a magical swamp or something like that. Basically, if you let it get to you, you let the sadness get to you, you will sink into this swamp.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where Atreyu's horse, Atrex, everybody's got cool ass names in this movie, fucking starts to drown in the
Artex.
swamp.
It's Artex, not Atrex.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
Atrex, dude.
Artex.
Isn't Atrex?
Atrex.
Isn't
Yeah.
Atrex
Sounds
like
like an EDM.
that's like a
fucking
no, that's like
DJ.
a villain from another movie, I think.
Atrex.
It could be.
Atrex.
It could be. But anyways, that's where this fucking horse starts to drown and dying, and this kid is screaming and yelling and crying. At least that's how I remembered
Dude,
it.
he flips. He's just like, "Come on, please, just do it for me." And then
Yeah.
instantly he's like, "You stupid horse!"
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing that's sad about it is that he's using different tactics.
Yeah,
Like at first he's like, "Hey, we're all happy, right? Like it's cool," and then like he sees that it's sinking,
yeah.
and he's like, "Well, like let's go. Come on, it's no big deal."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like he starts realizing like, "Fuck, man, get out of the thing." And then immediately he's like, "Well, maybe if I resort to anger,
Yeah.
this will like pull the horse out of some
Yeah, reverse
slump."
reverse
Because
psychology.
I'm confused,
stay in the swamp, bro.
and I think
Yeah.
this leads to the first question of our
We have our first question
from
from Sarah.
Sarah.
From Sarah.
And it says, if the horse drowned because it let the magic of the swamp get him, which is the magic of the swamp being is if you let the sadness of the swamp get to you, it'll sink you, right? So
Right.
this horse, we can only assume, is sad
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah, right.
right? If he let it get to him and then he gave up, how come the boy doesn't drown too? Because as soon as the horse dies,
Yeah,
like, isn't he fucking devastated?
I think he's like crying, isn't he?
Right, like I
Yeah.
don't understand. So is the sadness of the swamp different than like regular sadness?
I think it is. I think
is that
this
what
is
they're
what I took it as. I took it as the swamp. The swamp like fills you with depression and dread.
Mm-hmm.
So if you cave into that feeling, then you die. But since his sadness was not being generated by the swamp itself, it was a loss of a friend. It was a different kind of sadness. That's how I took it while watching it.
I don't know
I
about
took
that.
it in two
I
ways.
don't know about that.
I took it in two ways. I
Tell us.
took it as as we find out later on in this movie, you have to have a little bit of context with my answer here. So as we find out a little bit in this movie, if you haven't seen it before, spoiler alert, you find out that basically Atreyu is Bastion.
Mhm.
That you do. That,
Okay.
Well, now why do they exist on screen at the same time then?
Yeah.
They do.
that
Yeah, when Bastion's taking the dragon for a ride, they're on the
Yeah.
screen at the same
Wait.
time.
Sure, at the end.
Yeah.
we'll,
don't-
We'll get to it.
Oh, you got a way to walk around that one?
Oh, I do.
Oh, yeah, because isn't this going to be the crux of your entire argument?
Yeah. We just shut it down
the
the
way
first
you
2
brought
seconds.
it up makes it sound like it's like the entire point we have to make here.
No, well, it is, and it's brought up. It's even brought up later in the movie too. But
Whoa, look at that. I'm ready.
no, it is because here's the thing: if they're the same person, it's literally him getting through it in the book to keep going, and that's basically that. He's not letting. So by letting the sadness get to him, it could be like, "This is a sad fucking book, dude. I'm not gonna read this. Close it, move on." Because there's several. There's several of those things. There's several of those things in the movie, especially with the Sphinx and the mirror. The mirror of showing himself as.
I never
he
get-
reads himself literally in the book. At that point, it makes grown men scream. That it's turned grown men. It's caused them to scream because if you read yourself in a fucking book, that would probably freak you out so bad you would stop reading
No,
that
I
book.
understand. I understand what you're saying there, but you're applying it to this scenario.
Yes.
Which is the reason why I'm going to disagree a little bit is because there's no point where it shows Bastion. He's like, this book is starting to get real boring.
He's crying. He's literally crying when the horse dies.
Yeah, but I don't think that means. Okay, then why did he cause the horse to die then?
What?
I don't understand what you're trying to say.
Ooh.
Like, are you trying to say that like he's controlling the world?
No,
with
I'm
his
not saying
emotions?
no. I'm not saying he's controlling the world with his emotions. I'm saying the book is also a challenge to him.
Right.
So in
if you're saying
in,
that
in
when-
the real
If
world,
that means that
and that's why Atreyu doesn't die because the sadness affects the horse, and if he let the sadness affect him, the story would just
But
end.
he cries, like you're saying, he cries immediately
He
after
cries,
the horse
but he
dies.
cries immediately after, but he still powers through with the book.
But there's no point in time where he's like, I think I'm ready to put this book down.
But that's a challenge point of doing that by keep moving on. That's why he doesn't drown.
Okay, what
in
I'm
the
saying is there a
swamp.
point where he before Atreyu starts drowning in the swamp? Is there a point where Bastion goes, I don't know if I can get through this?
No.
That's what I'm saying. I
No,
feel
and-
like
and
that's
he
the
actually-
point
Well,
that
he
you're trying to
realized
say.
no,
No.
he realizes he has an effect on that world too. Before that, or is it
After
after
that,
that?
it's
'Cause he
after
does.
that
When
scene.
yeah, so that implies that that it would have some.
But he wouldn't know at this point. And
But
like
still, it's-
Bastion, after the horse dies, he immediately like turns to the next page. Like I gotta see what happens.
Yeah, I just don't get any point where if I feel like what you're trying to say is that the way that
This-
things affect Atreyu in the book is because him and Bastion are mirror images of each other.
No, I think this book. The reason that this old man said, "You need this book, steal this book from me," basically was you need this challenge because a lot of things are brought up. Courage, because he's bullied. Like there's a lot of those
But
things
how does this relate to the swamp?
I think
This power of the swamp.
I think it relates to the power of the swamp with, again, going back to his mother, and it goes with
Yeah.
don't let the depression of a sad thing like someone dying slow you down or stop you.
Right, but like you're saying that the question we're asking is how come Atreyu doesn't drown in the swamp immediately after the horse drowns in the swamp? Because Atreyu's crying,
Mhm.
then Bastion's crying.
Yes.
So why
I
isn't
have
he
a
drowning in
simple
the swamp?
answer.
I think it's
have
because-
a simple answer.
Why?
Because he's not in the mud. He's sitting up on like a rock or whatever.
No.
Like, yeah, because there's areas where you can climb up to that aren't in the mud, and he
Can I say
he
something?
got onto
That's
that
the best
part.
answer I've heard yet.
I stand by mine. I think mine was solid too.
I think my answer is solid.
I think yours is the most out there, but creative.
I think that he's literally, by reading through the book, he keeps the story going. Again, never a new story. He keeps the story going.
Yeah,
and
but the
keeps
story-
the character going and the drive in the character. The character doesn't
I
give up.
agree
But
that
that
it's a
impli-
metaphor
that-
for
but
his
that-
what you said.
Yes, I
That
agree with
implies
you
that-
there. Yes, 100%. I think it's a metaphor. yes.
That character, the character in the swamp, exists whether or not Bastion's the one reading it or the old man's the one reading it.
Right, and grown men have given up on this book before because of the challenges it has. But there's a reward at the end. We find out by reading it.
Yeah, you get to ride a dragon.
You get to find the real fucking world, Kyle.
We'll talk about that. We're not even like.
And what better reward is there?
Whoa, man.
So that's where I'm at with that.
Well,
Also,
that was only our first guest
Yeah.
question.
That's
Yeah.
only-
Well, that
awesome.
follows up.
That's a 2-hour episode right there.
Also, here comes the second question because it happens right after the discussion with Mora, basically.
Okay.
So there's the discussion with Mora. We find out Mora is this ancient being that lives in Fantasia, which is basically a giant turtle that is given up on, not given up, but given up.
It's just
She's
tired.
old and crotchety.
It's just she's an old crotchety
Jesus.
ET looking freaking
Like eager
like
to
turtle.
It's
eager
just
to
it's
die.
just old and tired.
Yeah,
Very
things have been around for
sneezy.
thousands of years. It's allergic to humans. We
That's
find
right.
out.
Yes.
But
Or
yeah, I don't
youth,
think that
allergic
there's
to
any.
youth. It's allergic to youth.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Atreyu's not a human.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
True.
Yeah.
That's true. Good point. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
so she's
Youth.
allergic to youth.
Which is the joke, obviously, because she's so fucking old.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I just think that she's just like old and like. Think about this. You live through for so long, and then you just get
All your turtle
completely-
friends died.
Yeah.
You're the last. You're the last
All
of
you're
the
seeing is
turtle.
wars and shit.
You don't
And
think
after
it-
a while, then you become a nihilist and just say, I
You've
don't
talked.
fucking
You've talked.
care.
You've talked to this Atreyu guy
She
like
does
a
say that.
million fucking times
Yeah.
in your lifetime.
She does say she doesn't care. Do you also think that's like a representative of maybe like a kid and an old person and maybe the relationship that they have?
What? What? What?
In a way.
What way?
A kid and an old person.
Yeah, and the fact of like
No.
when you know what I mean, like the spirit of
It's
a
not
kid
all
and
old
like the
people
ki-
have given up,
no, not
and
all
all
no,
young people are like full of
no,
hope.
but I mean like the thing of like the kid is full of hope and the old person's like dude, it's like I'm just ready to die.
Yeah,
I
I've
need
never met.
change.
I don't think I've ever met an old person
I have.
who had like
I have.
negative shit to say to me.
Oh no, I've met an old person who's like, dude, yeah, I'm just waiting for death at this point. Like I've met.
Well,
Yeah, they
Like my
exist,
grandmother
for
was
sure.
like that, but she wasn't like I also don't care if the world gets exploded and everyone dies on it. Like she's at the point where she's like gone and like dipped into utter like just defeatism. She's
Yeah.
done. Like she's just like,
Take me now. She
oh, there's a
basically
big
says
nothing and it's
it.
trying to wipe out existence. So? Like
Yeah.
she's very much like, I don't care. At which point the interesting thing about it is that when Atreyu asks like, well, if you don't care so much, why won't you tell me the secret
Yeah.
to the princess? Which leads her to like laugh a little bit,
Mhm.
which I think also kind of shows her like kind of be like, either this whole like I don't give a shit is a fake like persona that she's putting on,
Mm.
or she realizes that like a young kid has somehow like outthought her on this and
Yeah.
says, you know what, you're right. Like
Mhm.
I guess you're right.
Great scene too.
Didn't really
by
think
the
about
way,
it. It is a great.
is.
I
scene.
love.
The
I
sneezes.
forgot about the fact that he keeps getting sneezed out of the tree, which
Yeah.
made me chuckle quite a bit.
No, I always remember that fucking turtle sneezing because I've always thought, even from a kid to an adult now, like how fucking gross.
Dude, it's all dripping
the-
down his
yeah.
arms and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Giant turtle snot
Turtle
running down
snot.
and everything. Also, at this point, we find out that there's an assassin being sent to
Werewolf.
kill Atreyu. It's not. It's just a giant
Just a
wolf.
regular wolf.
This is Wolf.
It reminds me of my favorite episode of Goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the name of it. I think it's maybe it might be
Werewolf Fever Swamp?
or Camp Nowhere. It's one of the camp ones. I can't remember the name of it.
Camp
exact-
Jelly Jam?
Exactly.
It's that Goosebumps
No.
book, The Neverending Story. Has anybody heard that one?
No,
From R.L.
you,
Stine.
you know the episode where it ends where it's like the kids like on the fucking moon and they're going to Earth and they got like blend in, but the whole time like this animatronic wolf has been chasing him throughout the camp. It looks exactly
Oh.
like this fucking wolf.
I do know what you're talking about.
It
I
looks-
remember it.
I can't remember the
Sorry.
name of the episode either, but
See,
yeah,
here's the thing though. I
it
want to
looks
say
exactly
like
like this wolf.
I really like that
Wolf.
the
Wolf.
looks.
Wolf.
I think he looks pretty realistic.
I love the way it looks.
There's some
nah.
shots
Yeah.
with the eyes. No, but like I
It's
still
cool, but
think like there's a lot of motion going on with the nose.
There is.
oh, I was gonna
Right?
bring that up,
And
especially at the end when you.
It moves in weird ways that definitely you're like, all right, that's weird. But I there's a part of me that it still looks kind of terrifying to me nowadays.
I agree. It is
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah, for sure.
And the sounds are really great, and it moves very fast.
Yeah.
Like, as fast as that Zuni doll did in Terror Trilogy.
Oh yeah,
It
I'd
mo-
love to see a race between
Between those two.
Zuni doll and the weird
Oh,
wolf
that'd be
creature. From,
Amazing. There should be like
Is
an
it-
Easter egg
Is
on
it
something.
Mark?
Gamork.
Gamork.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the name of it. And then this is where our second question comes in because as the Gamork is about to rip Atreyu to pieces, a good luck dragon comes out of nowhere and snatches him up.
Just a
Mm.
luck
Mhm.
dragon. I don't think it's.
Yeah, he's in a
No, he's
good
good
luck.
luck.
It's just a luck dragon.
you
He's
don't
good
have
luck.
to say good luck.
No, he's,
No,
he's
he's
double.
typically good.
He's a
Yeah.
luck dragon.
He's double the luck.
Yeah.
He's a good luck dragon.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
You're not a bad luck dragon. Bad luck dragons are out there. You don't want to find one of those. You don't want one of those to find you. Next thing you know, your horse is drowning
What is bad luck?
in a swamp.
Bad luck is just the is
Explain
not
bad luck to
having
me.
luck.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing about.
So it
luck.
would just be a dragon.
Ooh, it could be, but I don't know. It would
Yeah.
even still look like
He,
somewhat of a
sa-
dog.
he came out and saved his life in the nick of time.
Here we
It's
go.
pretty
Here's
lucky.
the second question. It says, where does the dog dragon creature come from? Maybe he is reincarnated from the drowned horse.
Okay.
I thought that. I had that thought
Did
for
you?
a second.
Never
I
Yeah.
never
crossed my
have.
mind.
I thought he
Never
could-
have.
It never crossed my mind.
Well, but
I
what-
don't. Yeah, I don't think so.
What signaled me to think that was, obviously he loses the horse, and that's hard on all of us.
You know, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
Living in
gonna lie, I shed a
Freaking
tear. I shed a
suburbia. Yeah.
tear. Because of like the similarities, like it's a white horse, the dragon's white. It saves him. He makes the comment that I haven't had a friend since basically he lost Artex. So this is
Atrax?
kind of.
I'm just kidding.
So I did feel like this was basically not a reincarnation, but like kind of like a new version.
Oh,
of
it's an
that.
upgrade. He got an
That's an
upgrade.
upgrade, I guess.
Can we say
It
something
applies.
back to an earlier thing? Kyle said, "Wait a second, hold on. Bastion and Atreyu
Yeah.
are in the same scene at one
Yes.
point in time, so that would lead you to believe they're not the same person." In that same
Yes.
exact scene, there's Artex and friggin'
Yeah.
the Luck Dragon.
No,
Mhm.
because Artex is already under the water.
What?
He's already under
What?
the water.
No, that's at the end.
The end.
Oh,
We're
Yeah.
talking about that same scene
Yeah.
is
So again, the dragon and the horse share the screen time together.
But
so
it can be explained. But can be explained with the ending.
I think so. Because at the end, everything is undone.
No,
then wouldn't the luck dragon just be undone?
No, because he existed prior.
So
he existed before the horse died. Then
not only undone. You got to realize that Bastion is basically making wishes. So if he wants Atreyu to be there, he can make a wish and Atreyu's there.
Mm-hmm.
So a physical Atreyu can be there.
Okay. All right. I mean, sure.
There you go.
That makes a lot of sense.
I was waiting to save it for the end, but fuck, I had to bring it out now.
All right, well, that's okay.
I didn't hear it. What was it?
He was basically saying, like, I mean, if the whole point is to make a wish, he can wish for his
all those people
alter
to be
ego
there.
to exist in the same world if he chose to.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Is what he's saying, which is, I guess, is theoretically possible. That being said, I still don't agree.
Yeah, you don't have to. It's part of the show.
Thank you. No, I just think that the luck dragon represents just like, I mean, first of all, it's a luck dragon, so which is weird because he does come in the nick of time, as you said, which would suggest that it's luck.
Yeah. I also feel like, as a luck dragon, that's your calling, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
you're like, oh, fuck, someone needs
You
some
can
luck.
never show up early.
Also,
with plenty of time to spare.
Yeah.
You
I'm
have
just
to make
gonna
it look
hang
like
out
a
over
lucky
here.
instance.
Yeah.
Why? Don't worry about it.
No, I think he has I think Falcor has like a spidey sense where he's like, oh, someone needs some luck.
no, he wears the Atreyu wears the Orin or whatever.
The Orin, yeah.
And I think the Orin is tied to the luck dragon,
Could be.
probably. So, like in a sense, like because the luck dragon's probably tied to the princess, right?
Yeah, the Empress.
Or the empress. Sorry.
I don't know. I have no idea. I thought the luck dragon was just a separate creature all on its own, and it does what luck dragons do, which is just show up in the nick of time
Yeah.
to save you from shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what happens is, like, here's this thing too. It's like when this movie. This is a funny part to me because again, this is where the adult thing kicks in. Never thought of this as a kid.
I hope you're going where I think you're going.
I don't know. I don't know if I am because this to me just feels like.
Was it
it's just
related to my
me-ism.
Instagram post?
It was related to just watching this again.
Yes.
Your Instagram post was definitely a good introduction.
If you're,
what I was about
if
to
I
witness.
think of what you're talking about, I think
I'm
this
definitely
might have
not-
inspired
I'm not-
me. This movie
I'm
in
not-
other ways.
I'm not on the same page as you guys then.
Oh shit!
Because what I'm thinking is, I was like, so I'm like, the first thing they're like, dude, you got to hurry up. You got to save us. You got to save this world and nothing's eating us up. And then it's like, and then he passed out for many days and many nights. And like, I'm like, oh shit, I guess we're not worried about there's nothing taking over the world in a couple
You
days.
can't save the world like at 50%, Cody. You got to be like a solid
Yeah, he was
85
knocked
and
out
90.
though. He was in a coma.
Yeah.
Maybe the nothing like slowed down a little bit. It was like, oh, I don't really have to like work real hard right now.
Yeah,
because
it looked at
Atreyu's
it as a
asleep.
vacation. You know,
I mean, possibly. I just think that maybe
destroying a world is a lot of work.
the luck dragon is pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean,
True.
he says that like he's like, hey, did you just travel 10,000 miles or whatever? And he's like, yep. That's how a luck dragon rolls.
Yeah, he
Like,
did it. He
that's
did it with
great.
luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Atreyu wakes up.
Was it
and
that far? I don't know.
Atreyu wakes up. He's cleaned. He's bandaged up. And I'm sorry. What was the other thing that you guys were trying to make?
This is the scene when Atreyu wakes up and starts getting to know the luck dragon. I just feel like
Yeah.
that dialogue doesn't like.
Boy, it
can't-
didn't age well.
It doesn't age well.
No.
He's like, I think the dragon comes off real creepy.
Yeah, it fucking does.
Like, hey
Wow,
there,
how so?
little
How so?
boy.
Yeah, it totally fucking
Come on
does.
over here and give me a scratch.
I
like,
can never reach behind the ear. That's the
Yeah.
spot. I'm
Man.
just like,
it's like a
this got
dog.
yeah, that's
nasty.
how I
It's
took
a
it. I always took it as a dog.
no, but like,
No, I think it's the animatronic face that ruins
I
it.
think it's that, and I think it's how
voice.
weirdly like it's not like he doesn't come off like an innocent creature. He kind of comes off like
yeah.
I'm ancient and know a bunch of shit.
Yes,
Oh.
yes. I got that same vibe.
And has anybody seen what is that movie? God, hold on, I gotta figure this out. It's that Kingdom movie with like James Franco and shit.
No.
Kingdom movie.
Hold on.
Joke's
Hold
not
on.
gonna land.
Hold on as we wait for James Franco joke.
Can you
Any
put
minute.
can you put like a little thing in the video like doo, doo, doo,
Yeah.
doo,
Your
doo,
Highness.
doo, doo,
Okay.
doo.
Oh,
Okay.
Your Highness.
Okay.
Nope,
Let me
nope.
start
Okay.
that over again.
Okay.
Okay, so you guys ever seen that movie Your Highness?
I actually have.
Right. Okay. You know, there's
Oh, I
this.
haven't.
There's this scene where they go to see like I've known.
Oh
my
yeah, the
person
like the
for-
wiz, the wi-
and
like the wizard,
and it's
yeah.
this animatronic creature, and it's talking, but it's like clearly like molested him at
Yes.
some point in time because he's just like this. He's like the creepy old man in
Yeah,
Family
they have
Guy.
to jerk him off. to,
Right,
like-
right. So originally I thought like, what movie did he get this from? Because I just don't think he came up with. I feel like it felt familiar to me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, everybody knows that weird character in fantasy films, and I thought about it. I'm like, no, I can't think of one until I saw this, and then I'm like, wait a second, is this where they got the idea? Because now that I'm watching this, are they picking up on the same thing that I'm picking up on, which is this dragon seems really creepy?
It's really fucking creepy.
Yeah.
I never picked up on it, but I could see where you're coming from. It's his voice.
I'm
too.
sure you could.
It is
yeah,
his
you-
voice.
Yeah.
He has that weird lilt, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, just I don't
Yeah,
know.
and
It's
look
for
like the
kids.
kid's been awake for 5 minutes. Be like, oh, good, you're up.
yeah,
Scratch behind my ear.
yeah.
Well, dude,
Just
his
like-
arm obviously doesn't reach it. It's, you
No.
can see
But I
it.
think it's also the line that's like,
He's been waiting. He's been waiting
whoa.
1,000 years to snatch a little boy out of a marsh so he can get his back of his ear scratched.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he even said, "I love children." Like,
Yeah, it just
and it
I
says,
got a
like,
creep
for
vibe.
dinner, and he was just like, "Ha ha ha, no to touch." Like, it's just like,
He
Fuck
does-
God.
Did he say touch?
no,
He
but
didn't,
not at all.
but he could
In
have.
fact,
and
I
I
was
would
like,
have
I-
bought it.
But
I was like,
still.
I remember that.
Yeah, I could see it. It sounds a little pervy. Like
It
the
just
way he
definitely
is.
sounds creepy now, like watching it. And
But I will say the thing that freaks me out the most about the Luck Dragon is those scales. Like those, ever since I was
Yeah.
a kid, like the look of those scales with the hairs like
all
coming through it
bubbly
and
and
stuff.
shit.
All
Yeah.
I kind of
bubbly.
liked the scales. I
I'm
thought it was
like,
like a
no,
cool,
this-
cool addition.
No, the scales look like he's got like a disease.
Yeah, it's kind
Yeah,
of weird.
it's called scale.
He looks like a fish dog.
yeah, that
He's
dragon
like,
disease
yeah,
called
he's like a
scale.
He's like a fish dog dragon.
Fish dog dragon.
Yeah, he's like a
Fish
fish
dog
dog
dragon.
dragon. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
With
He's
red eyes.
with red rapey eyes.
Oh god.
Wait, dragons are
Jesus.
reptiles. They would have scales. Why do we have
Yeah,
to
but
bring
his-
fish
Oh, I
into
know.
this?
No,
but-
but because they're very fish-like.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
white. They're pearly.
Yeah.
They're pearly.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
pervy? Yeah, they
Pearly.
are.
It just-
Pervy.
When I was a kid, it always made me think of Bubbles. You know, which I actually
Another
was
pervy name.
Fucking Chris hates bubbles, by the way.
No, there's a part that really creeped me out in this that I forgot about, and that's
Wait, what do you mean bubbles? Like,
on
you,
on
you
his
don't like
skin.
bu-
It
you don't
looks
like no
bubbles
you don't
on
like
his
bubbles
skin.
in general.
I'm not even joking. I thought you were talking about Michael Jackson's chimp.
That is so fucking
Bubbles.
random.
Oh my
It
God,
was
you didn't see him?
random.
He was in the movie.
That's why I was like, why does it remind him of a chimpanzee?
This is why Michael Jackson got him. He saw him in Neverending
Jesus.
Story, and he was like, "Oh, I gotta have that monkey."
Yeah. Jeez, that monkey's gonna be a star.
No, but the part where, oh, gosh, I can't. I don't know the character's name. The two that we meet.
The elves?
Yeah, the science, the
Yes,
science
there's
guy
a science one and the witch.
and the witch
Yeah.
who's casting spells. And when the witch is like injecting the dog with the big needle, I was like, "Ooh, I didn't remember that part in this movie. That made me cringe."
that one I always remembered.
Yeah, it's
that
kind
was
of a
actually the
weird-
one that I remember the most about the Luck Dragon.
because it's like you see it like squirt out, and she's like jabbing it into. I'm just like, "Ooh, yeah, that definitely was like."
And he lets out that weird like.
I remember. I remember loving those two characters.
Yeah,
Like,
I
me too.
love them.
They were
They're
probably
the
my
bi-
favorite characters
yeah,
in this
because
movie.
they're like the Billy Crystal character in freaking.
Very much so.
Yeah, in Princess Bride. It's like
Right.
the same thing.
mm-hmm.
And then that brings us to like the Desert Trials, or the Southern Oracle, where he has to go talk to the Southern Oracle, and we see this guy in armor walk up, and what's the first thing?
The first thing you see with giant titties.
Yeah, true.
And as a kid, that was the first thing I was always like, why do those Sphinx
know.
have giant?
I
like
never
the-
noticed them until
Those
now.
massive
Didn't
tits. I was
remember
like-
that.
I never noticed them until now. I was like,
Like, it
why
make-
does that Sphinx have big boobs?
Makes a lot of sense.
got
Why I
nipples.
loved this
I,
film.
I'm like going through my Rolodex in my mind of like what I know about Sphinx. I'm like, I don't remember tits. Just don't remember tits on any of them.
Just perfect.
Not in history books anyway.
Wow.
But so the guy rides up, and we find out that the first trial basically is you have to believe in yourself,
Mhm.
which is something that Atreyu, you never get the sense that Atreyu never believes in doesn't believe in himself.
No, he comes. I mean,
But-
he walks into the first scene like, "I'm
Yeah.
a warrior." What, bitch?
But who do you get,
He's ready to go.
who do you get the sense doesn't believe in himself?
Bastion.
Bastion, thank
Yeah.
you.
The elf.
Boom, boom. We're back in it.
Hold
Those
on,
sen-
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think anyone's denying that there's
So
a
he
link
had-
between the trials
Boom.
of Atreyu
There you go.
and,
Oh,
and
it
the
was-
trials
yeah,
of Bastion.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's,
they
No
were
one
denied.
is claiming
I
that.
think
They
that's
were
definitely
denied.
intentional.
But does it sink people in a swamp? Was the question.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was the question. But
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it does.
stem
It,
from-
all,
it doesn't.
It does.
It doesn't.
It does.
The Sphinx was not sinking people from 10,000 miles away. The Sphinx. The
yeah,
trials.
but
It doesn't tie into the swamp, is what I'm saying.
it does. Your point didn't make any sense. And so yeah,
It's you all night.
Atreyu somehow at this point starts questioning himself, and then they're just like, "Fucking run!" And he runs, he jumps through it, and he makes it. The second one is seeing your true self. And it said, if you're a kind person, you may see like a fucking terrible person. If you're, a rich
Yes.
person, you might see a poor person, whatever, the opposite of whatever. So you're thinking, what is Atreyu going to see? And what does he see? He sees Bastion.
Right. But the old man tells him that this is going to be the case. The old man tells him that Atreyu, like, that he's going to be living this story through Atreyu. Right? Like, I don't think that's the...
Yeah.
At that point, he throws the book
Right.
and runs away.
Because
Like
he
the
literally
old man
probably
said.
read, and then there was a young boy, and he just so happens to be wearing Oshkosh Bagosh or whatever the fuck he's wearing. Looked down, and he's just like, shit, that's fucking me. I'd throw that fucking book too.
That's what I'm
if I read
saying.
myself in a book.
That's what I'm saying. They are the same. They are the same person.
Like,
yeah. Who else would Bastion be in the story that he's reading if he was
Right.
going to identify with any character?
are we ever questioning that, though? We're never questioning. No one's ever questioning
I
that.
feel like that's what the question was.
No, that wasn't what the question was.
You feel like his
ever.
character's not being affected by Bastion was the
Yes.
argument. Is like you don't think that Atreyu's character is being physically affected by Bastion's emotions or
I'm saying
decisions.
that there's no doubt in my mind that the trials that Atreyu is going through, Bastion is seeing himself in. He's living the story like anybody in a book would if they were relating really deeply to a character.
Mm.
And those trials that Atreyu accomplishes also for Bastion at some point in time.
Yes.
Because he's living through the character.
Right.
Now what we're talking about is physical like rules in this book about things dying in a swamp and whether or not Bastion is somehow doing it.
Right. I don't think that's what's happening.
No, I don't.
No, I don't think he Bastion. No, I don't think
No.
Bastion. I never said Bastion killed the horse.
Right, but
I'm saying that
you suggested that
by
Bastion
him continue reading the book and keep going, that keeps Atreyu going and keeps the story going. Because without it, you wouldn't. Atreyu would just die in the swamp. That'd be the last thing you read. You wouldn't know where it went.
Atreyu didn't let the sadness
is the
overcome
first-
him, which is why he
Yes,
didn't.
that's because the sadness.
But the question
reader
was,
didn't
what-
let
no,
the
no,
reader
no,
didn't
no,
let
no,
the
no.
But no, I'm
sadness of the
talking about-
horse
Back at the
But this
overcome
is
him.
like
now.
that's
No,
a
no, no,
life
no.
story that I'm thinking. Like, yeah, like he's not letting the sadness of his mother dying overcome
Yes.
him, right?
Yeah, it's a metaphor for that, but it's the same thing.
I'm not. What I'm saying is,
Horse equals mom.
here's the thing: Bastion's reading the book, right? And he's being tested, and you're making it sound like he's being tested by reading the book.
Yes.
That if he gives up on the book at any point in time, then
This world is-
Atreyu sinks into the thing and he dies.
Well, the whole world is destroyed.
Right, okay? I'm saying that has nothing to do with anything. Like, I'm saying that, like, never mind. I'm
That's
done with
okay.
this. This is going on way too long.
I actually was liking that it kept coming back up. It's funny.
The
sticking,
damn swamp.
I just feel like
The
fucking
damn swamp
can't get out of
sticking
it.
point, man.
No, because we were gonna sink in
Yeah,
it.
I mean, yeah.
But this also brings up another question here. It says, how does the elf man know all about the desert obstacles if he has not successfully crossed himself?
I was asking that myself.
There's an easy answer for this one. He has a whole fucking telescope. He can just see different lenses on that bitch.
But I don't
Take
think
a look at it.
we ever
It's made of diamonds.
I could barely
Yep.
see Atreyu walking through the snowy blizzard. How is his telescope piercing through all that to see
not-
the mirror?
Dude, it's just a bad weather day.
Here's the thing, though.
It's not, normally they make this passage on a clear day. You
Yeah.
just came during flurry season.
We don't. I mean, this is a man of science. He probably has other forms of information that have told him about the Southern Oracle. I don't think everything he's learned has just been through a telescope. I think that maybe he might have books or something like that. Like there might be scrolls or ancient stories telling about like, hey, these are the trials you have to face. If you're willing, you can go because, I mean,
He's an intellectual
do
person.
you want to
He-
say something?
No, I was just going to say when you finish, also from when we look at it from a distance, it does look like you can just walk around it.
I was asking the question, why didn't you just fly over it with your new dragon friend?
Yeah.
Which is true because the dragon does like
Dragon was
get him back.
Yeah, Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does pull him out of there
Yeah.
at some point in time. I think just the old man knew about it. I don't know that he necessarily had actually been there.
The question is how.
And I also did anybody get the idea that, Bastion, I mean, not Bastion, I'm sorry, Atreyu does get through the first gate, but that he's not the only one to get to the first gate, he's just the only person to get through 2 gates?
Yeah, I think so. I got that vibe.
I don't think they ever suggested no one's ever gotten through the first gate.
He suggests that there's 2 gates. People have gotten through the first but have failed at the second.
No one's no one's gotten through the second gate. Basically.
Right. So, I mean, I guess it's possible. He says that people have ran away from it in fear.
Right.
That's how he learned about the second gate.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, that makes total sense.
He runs out and they're like, I can't do this. I'm fucking too freaked out. I can't do this. And then he's like, tell me what you saw. He's like, there was a mirror.
What did you see?
And I saw myself and I was a coward and I ran. Like, who knows?
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Yeah. Mystery solved.
There it is. Next thing, after that, basically, the nothing comes and attacks, because they have to make it to the edge.
They have to make it to the edge of Fantasia to find a human boy.
To give the Empress a new name.
Yeah,
and that's the big reveal. The Empress needs a new name, so we got to do that. So
but
it can't be given by anybody but the human boy.
But the human boy.
Yeah.
And so he...
I didn't think that was a lame twist.
I don't think it's lame.
Really? I don't think it's lame either.
I don't think it's lame.
Especially because it ties back to his...
Yeah, his mom.
That's fine and all, but I just thought...
Who knows how long it's been since he's said his mom's name out loud to begin with since she died. Like, that's something... That's how I looked at it and thought
You know, I do want to... Okay, I was holding this in.
Let it out.
I'm going to say this about this movie. Like, I know that they are really trying to tie in this powerful story about this kid and his loss of his mom and everything, but like, man, I'm sorry, like it didn't emotionally pull me in the slightest in that aspect, because like it's something that's just lightly touched on, and it's like you have to reanalyze the film over and over to start to pick up the insanely subtle nuances that it's pointing at. Oh, there's some loss of pain here, but it's just it's not driven home enough for me, for that final moment at the end of the film where it kind of crescendos and comes together. Like, I didn't even hear the name he yells.
I didn't either.
First of all, let me tell you something.
I didn't either.
I want to say that this is, I've searched this on the internet, and that this is a common thing that everybody remembers as a kid, is that no one can understand what the fuck he's saying at the end.
Is that a part of this movie that's
I actually do think it is, because even I never, as a kid, before I ever thought about like putting a subtitle on or something like that, as a kid I was always like, I don't know what he has to say. And I always grew up thinking in this movie that it was supposed to be blown out from the lightning strikes so that you don't ever hear it. Like that it was some sort of like it's secret only to Bastion or something like that. Like I always thought that, and now I realize that like, oh no, you can hear it because like I actually had to look it up. Like, what the fuck does Bastion say at the end of this film?
I'm glad you looked this up.
And when I did find out about it, I was like, A, what kind of fucking name is that? And then B,
Jesus,
it was, oh yeah, he's clearly fucking saying. Once you get it in your head and you know what he's saying.
What is he saying?
He's saying Moonchild.
That's his
child.
That is the name. Yes, that he says. And once you've heard it in your head, trust me, Moonchild.
Moonchild. What the fuck?
Get the fuck out of here!
I never knew that, because I've always said the same thing. Like, what
I kind of want to keep the mystery now. I want to go back in time and unhear this.
From what I hear, it's the same name that's in the book. I never read the book.
What does that mean?
Well, I'm thinking like, is she a hippie? Like, what was this like? I mean, did he grow up like? And then
no,
that's what
the kid. Oh God, it's got to have some significance.
Or does it have some symbolism to the story?
No, I mean, as I understand it, he says his mother's name, and his mother's name is Moonchild.
Huh.
And that's the name. And I think even as a kid, that's why it was so hard for me to understand, because I was like waiting for like an Eleanor or something like to show up.
Yeah.
But it was like,
Eleanor.
That's not a name. I don't know what fucking name that is.
I don't know why Eleanor made me laugh, but it did.
I have no idea.
All I was saying is that you guys are bringing up these points on how it ties back to this pain and this big thing he's got to deal with. And I just think the filmmaker, for me at least, the filmmaker failed to really tug on my heartstrings for Bastion's character and what he's going through. Like, my viewpoint of this character in this movie is just the annoying kid that we have to cut to every 15 minutes till we can get back to the movie.
Dang.
Yeah.
Not a fan of Bastion.
I am a fan of Bastion. I feel like he emotes well. Like,
no, I think he's a good actor. I think he's a good little actor.
Yeah, he has a good look. He has a good timing to him.
I will say that I do.
Feels very Spielbergian.
Yeah,
Yep.
very much so. I
Look-wise,
agree
I
a
agree.
little bit with Kyle because there are moments where the kid is like when he's freaked out. Like there was a part where he screams when he throws
When
the
he's-
book and when
yeah.
you hear it the first time and you're like, who screams at a book? Like
That's
I don't
what I
read a
kept thinking.
Stephen King novel and it's just like fucking, like Pennywise jumps out and I go, and I throw the book across the room.
I also was
How
thinking to
our books
myself while I was watching this movie, I'm like, this movie would not. I don't feel like this movie would play well to today's audience because, like, what 8-year-old you can get this into a book where he's screaming
Well,
at the
unfor-
characters and throwing it
See,
across
I don't
the
know
room.
if that's
I-
a sad part
I actually
commentary on
disagreed with
like
that.
children nowadays.
Yeah.
That you
No,
think
see,
that?
here's the thing. I
What,
actually
no
just,
video games?
I
That would be a
actually-
video
no,
game or an app.
I did no. I
Yeah,
just
Jumanji.
It's Neverending Story, an
Yeah,
app.
they had to change Jumanji into a video game. You know
Right.
damn well why.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kids ain't into fucking board games.
Yeah.
Same thing. Neverending Story 2,
Mm-hmm.
Genesis game.
I actually
Page
that's
Master.
originally how I felt. That's originally how I felt because I was like, why hasn't this movie ever been remade? I thought that, and that's originally how I felt too. I was like, oh, it's probably because kids aren't into the book. But then I thought, oh yeah, like Twilight and fucking Harry Potter and fucking Hunger Games. Those are all huge like movies,
Those
series based
years
off of
of
teen
shit.
books.
Yeah,
teen
but
books.
here's the
They're
thing.
teen books.
He's not reading those books. Like the books that he lists off are books.
Oh, they're like
Moby
classics,
Dick
yeah.
and friggin' like
Yeah.
Treasure Island and stuff.
He's definitely Matilda.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
but
he's
don't you
a-
feel like those don't you feel like those books that you just named off are like
Successful movie series. Yes, I do.
no, but like from they almost feel like they're only what 12, 15 years old at this point. Those
No.
books like Harry Potter. Those, like,
Oh yeah, that's what I'm
what-
saying. Yeah, I thought you were talking about Moby Dick. I'm like, Moby Dick's like 1800s.
No, Jesus.
Kyle,
the one
jeez.
the one Cody's named out. Don't you feel like those come from a slightly different era? Like I just don't see another Harry Potter coming out now, only in book form,
Yeah.
and it would sell like gangbusters.
Well, I think there are.
There's books like that.
There
all
are
the time.
YA novels that sell like gangbusters because they put out movies about. Like I didn't know what the fuck the Maze Runner is.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that
I
when
don't
that
think
came
anybody's
out.
heard of that.
Yeah,
What?
dude. I owned the book.
But the reason why it became a movie is because it was a popular YA novel. I don't think they ever were as well known as Harry Potter. I
No.
mean, it's not like
Well, Harry Potter was.
Percy
I'm
Jackson.
talking about like Harry Potter was like a cultural phenomenon.
yeah.
of a
I mean,
book. Like, I just,
enough that Universal Studios was like, let's just make a whole fucking thing about it.
I don't
make
know,
a
man.
whole.
I just don't think a movie about a kid reading a book about himself in a book. I don't know if that would sell nowadays.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
Yeah, it'd have to
I
be
agree
like
100%
a
with
fucking
that.
video game or some bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, they made that movie and it stars Edward Furlong.
What?
What? I don't get
We
that
refer-
reference.
We referred it right here on this show.
No, that was a.
Brain scan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brain Scan.
That's not a book.
It's a video game. That's what I said. They already made that movie.
Oh,
All right.
okay. I mean, that was a little different, but
No,
Like
because
a
he said for it.
demon-possessed
He said for
video
it. He
game.
said for it to work today, it would have to be in a video game.
Yeah, Jumanji.
And I said Brain Scan.
Jumanji. It's already been done.
I know,
It worked as a video game.
It did. It was a good movie.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll finish up answering these questions and we will rate this Mammer Jammer. So stick with us.
all right.
Talking about the Neverending Story. So where we left off was, the Nothing basically attacks Falcor and Atreyu falls into some water,
Mm-hmm.
ends up on fucked up land. I don't know.
And Sandy Beach.
Sandy Beach that
Pretty
turns
much.
into a very depressing place, though.
Yeah, it's a very desolate looking,
Yeah.
weird.
That's
like
the
the
home-
the lighting's different.
Yeah,
I
and
feel.
that's the home of the rock dude.
Well, and he starts, crying for Falcor, can't find him, and he's like crying on the rock dude's foot, and then the rock dude just gives the most depressing
it is
monologue.
Yeah, it is the most depressing, like existential,
Yeah.
like monologue because he's sitting there and he's like, "I'm a rock creature," and he's looking at his hands. He's like, "They were always."
I thought these were
like,
they
I
look
thought-
they
yeah.
look strong.
Like this is everything that I am. Is I'm this strong rock creature, and he's talking about how Snail Guy and the guy with the bat, he tried to hold him back from the Nothing, and Nothing just ripped it right out of his hands.
Yeah.
And he's like, not strong enough.
And he's grieving over letting having his friends die and feeling
And the
feeling
saddest thing
responsible
about it is
for
that
it.
even when the conversation ends, he ends it with the way he entered it, which is like it's like a Atreyu kind of goes off, and he just finishes it with, "They were always strong hands." It's like, and you're like, fuck.
It's very
Yeah.
poetic.
And he's just like looking at him. He's just looking at him
Yeah.
as Atreyu walks off and just shattered.
It's like he's shattered into like insanity.
Yeah, I know. It's
That's
crazy.
depressing. It's so terrible.
And two, he has a kid though. He moves on.
Yeah, that's true. He's fine. He ends up.
He
fine.
grew in
It's a
that
vibe.
moment, Cody.
But that's the weird thing. I'm like, that's again watching this movie as an adult. I'm like, yeah, dude, I love him in this movie, riding around on his bike everywhere, doing all this stuff, and like hanging out with his kid. And then it gets to that part, and you're like, man, he wasn't in this a lot, and it's really sad. Like, that's my favorite character. It's really sad. But yeah, at this point, you know, Atreyu walks off and he finds these murals of like everything that's happened.
Yeah, and,
Right.
and this is like where you really know some shit's going. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is going on here?
Then he sits down and he starts talking to Nosy McNoserson.
Yeah.
What?
Nosy McNoserson.
Does he make noses?
You know.
Yeah.
Which is what's his name again?
Mark.
Gamork? Gamork?
Oh, Gamork, yeah.
Gam-
Thank you,
Gamork.
The
Chris.
Gamork,
The Gamork.
which is a wolf.
Yeah, is what he starts.
Yeah.
He starts talking to him, and yeah, that fucking wolf's nose
It just keeps moving.
has more servos in it.
Listen, it looked like a hand puppet, and like the fingers were just moving
I
way
think that's
too
probably how
Yeah.
they
much
did
in the
it.
nose.
Yeah.
And it's pushing in. It's a long, slow shot that's just pushing in. It's supposed to be super intense and shit. And you're like, given enough time to really critique like how the fuck they did this. But
I'm-
it didn't kill it for me.
It
I-
doesn't kill him, and
no,
I
it
actually
doesn't
think
kill
this
him.
is actually
Chuckle,
a very. I actually think this scene is actually kind of terrifying a little bit.
The whole speech is
I
terrifying.
Yeah.
like the speech. His monologue's
He-
fantastic.
He's cold. He's cold. Like
Yeah.
you see this guy, and it is like if I met a creature like that, I'd be like Satan. Like
Yeah.
like it was just like
Pretty much.
the way it delivers the line and the way the dialogue is. It's just so like cold hearted.
But
Like,
is
He's
it
just
chosen to be
does not-
evil for the nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
does-
actually, okay, go on. Were you gonna say?
I was
something?
gonna say, does anyone else get the sense that he's also just given up?
Yeah.
Like
I got a sense of that.
No,
For sure.
actually, I saw it as he'd accomplished his mission.
Mm-hmm.
Like because there's a weird way that he describes himself, right? So he starts talking about the nothing and what it essentially is, right? And the nothing is, essentially like it's the collective hopes and goals of humanity or dreams of humanity, and the more that it fades, the more like Fantasia gets destroyed by this thing called the nothing, because without these things, like it just starts like. The nothing, I guess, is a representation of just forgetting and leaving it all behind.
Right.
It's your imagination.
It's
Giving
all
up your
dreams.
imagination.
That's
And he
what-
talks
yeah.
about it, but here's the thing. He asks who he is, and immediately I thought the line isn't, I'm like an agent for the nothing. He's like, I'm an agent for the thing behind the nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads me to be like, what is that? Is that like real? Like, what are you? Because there actually feels like it goes deeper than that, because the nothing is just a big bad villain for Fantasia, but he's suggesting that he knows everything that's going on outside of the book.
Right.
And now he's saying that, like, I'm a representation of something out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one line I've never quite understood, but, like, it has such an impending dire, like, are you, like, big business? Like, what are you? Are you corporations? I don't know.
Yeah, I got that vibe.
Like, what are you? Like, they never really say.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
you're right.
Blew my mind right there.
I
You're
know.
right. He's behind, so you're assuming there's some intelligence behind the thing that's destroying the dreams
I think we
of
just
humanity.
I've just answered the fans' next question.
What
Which-
is the nothing?
And what type of symbolism?
Yeah, what is the nothing supposed? Is the nothing supposed to be some type of symbolism?
Definitely.
If so, enlighten me.
Well, I've given my thought. I think that the nothing is. I think that what the wolf says is essentially what the nothing is.
I
Which
mean,
is like it is the
you kind of
vacuum that is created when people give up hope.
blew my mind with that. Like that's
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you. You explained it a lot more elegant than I would, because I always took it as like that was what's his name, Bastion's like depression and the emptiness you may feel after you losing a loved one or something like that. And that being depressed, because sometimes people describe being depressed as feeling nothing, like being unable to feel anything.
I mean,
So that's kind of how I took it.
I think it is very possible that the world that is being described in the book could be a microcosm of what Bastion is going through.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a reality too. Like, I think that's a possibility because I thought that too.
Yeah.
Like, immediately, like, is this just like the world according to Bastion as he's seeing it through his lens, or is the book saying it transcends even Bastion?
I think I think it was. I took maybe a little more of a. I don't know if literal is the right word to use, but I took it as like the nothing was kind of this because of the loss of his mother. There are certain aspects of his life that are not going to be the same anymore, and I think the mother figure sort of represents those things, that kind of that safe space of creativity, and that stuff is now going, and the nothing is that kind of sweeping through and washing away the safe place, so to speak, that he's no longer going to get to have anymore.
Here's one thing I forgot.
Hmm.
I forgot that Fantasia gets destroyed.
Yeah,
Oh,
it gets
yeah.
pretty much obliterated.
It gets,
at this point.
I've totally forgot about
Just
that.
turns
being
into
like-
dust.
as I was watching this, I was like, oh shit, oh shit.
Oh, they
That's
did
it.
not
They
make
blew it up. Damn you! Like Charleston Heston and my fucking.
And it's like, and for
And
whatever
then-
reason, like Bastion and the Luck Dragon seem to be okay.
Yeah, yeah, and the childlike empress, and she, what they appear in like the nothing. What is that? The nothing that they're in, the blackness.
I assumed that's how I've always assumed it is
Yeah.
that the nothing wipes through it, destroys Fantasia, and for whatever reason, Atreyu and the Luck Dragon have managed to like fly through this void where
With
there's
luck.
only pieces essentially. See, I don't think, and that's the thing where I've always thought is Fantasia absolutely destroyed,
No,
or is it like there's pieces of it? It's just holding on.
there's
Right.
pieces
Is
of it.
asteroids in a void.
There's
Yeah, the
pieces of
ivory
it because
tower is still
well,
there.
there's
Yeah.
pieces of it because I believe it's the wolf that explains it is basically the nothing is like you said, as people start to lose hope, it's eating up more and more and more and more.
Mhm.
So it doesn't mean like Fantasia will ever like it could eventually people will lose all hope and dreams and all that stuff and it would go away. But I think you're seeing the representation of how little people have.
See, but that didn't.
It's on its last
that.
leg, essentially.
I hate to get a weird physical, like weird thing because that's actually one of my favorite lines in the movie is when Atreyu essentially goes to this wolf creature and says, "I'm trying to get to the boundaries of Fantasia. That's where the kid is."
Yeah.
Right? And the wolf says, "The Fantasia is just a representation of man's hopes and dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it has no boundaries."
Yes.
To which it's like, okay, then like, is it nothing just going through this like infinite void? Like, there's like a weird. The physics mind of me wants to say like, if it has no boundaries, you're saying that it's an infinite thing, and that maybe these fragments of Fantasia floating through this void are just like the last few people
That's what I took.
caring,
That's what I took it as.
or is it the last? But again, if it's a microcosm of Bastion's world. Then it's like it's the last semblances of him like caring about his mom, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe Fantasia just exists on
Or
like
holding
just like on the event horizon of like a fucking black hole.
Very, very much so. It's actually the prequel to Event Horizon. Not a lot of people know that.
Oh shit! That
And
explains all
nowadays,
the-
if you go to Fantasia, you just rip your eyes out and just fucking can't take it.
Oh god. I don't know if I answered the question, but I think that like the nothingness is definitely like a representation of the death of childlike creativity
Mhm.
and dreams. Like what I was kind of saying this earlier on, but like like his imagination is very wild. He likes to get into these books. He's injecting himself into this whole story. And like the nothingness is like his father telling him to grow up, like the reality of somebody close to him dying, like all of these really like punch you in the face moments at a young age. And so
Right.
the nothingness is slowly creeping in, and it's coming for Bastion, unless he decides not to let it, unless he decides to overcome it in some way. So
Yeah.
I think that's like the metaphoric representation. And yeah, the mom scenario is just a part of it. The workaholic dad's a part of it. The bullies are a part of it, and all of that is just like the nothingness, like becoming more intense.
So Fantasia's destroyed. He ends up, basically ends up saving the world though by screaming out his mother's name.
Right.
Which we
Atreyu
now,
finds the princess, he finds the empress.
yeah.
Empress is just like, then it gets real meta.
It's
And the empress
super
is
meta.
going back
Yeah.
and forth saying like, don't you understand?
Like she's talking to Atreyu saying that, don't you understand that he's watching you on this journey and going with you? Also, people are watching him and going on this
Which
journey,
is
which means
us.
us, the
Right.
audience.
Yeah, that's a weird line. Yeah,
It
because
is.
it's like, and then somebody else is watching him, and you're like, okay, the people in the audience, right?
Right.
And then on top of that, the childlike empress actually turns to the camera and breaks the fucking fourth wall,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like telling Bastion, please, which is like, okay, wait, now it's getting really fucked up because not only is she breaking through, she's looking directly at Bastion,
Yeah.
but she's looking directly at us.
Yeah.
Which is like she's breaking two planes of existence at this point. If
Yeah.
I'm like believing this world that they've created,
It's a powerful princess.
she's very strong. She's childlike empress.
Oh,
Yeah.
Empress. Sorry.
Childlike
It
empress.
sounds like princess.
Yeah.
Sounds. That's why I get so
But
confused.
let's talk about this though. So, so our next question from our
From Sarah.
Sarah
From our Sarah.
Our Sarah.
Our
Our very
Sarah.
own.
is like, and she makes a good point. Why does the childlike empress need a new name? And she says it seems petty.
I'm going back to the death of the mother with this one, and I just feel like he hasn't said his mother's name in a very long time, because it's that thing like his dad's trying to get, hey, it's time to move on. I feel like that's what his speech is in the beginning, is like, hey, we can't always be down. We got to keep going. We got to keep moving on, like Chris was saying earlier. So by saying out her name, Moonchild, out loud, it's basically giving back him the power of like, it's okay. It was okay to be sad. It was okay to be grieve, and it's okay to be who I am. Like, I think that's basically what it is.
So if somebody else who didn't have a mother that passed away read the book, would the story be that the
I think the story
Empress
was-
needs
I
a
th-
new name still?
I think the story changes to whatever the person needs to grow.
So this is
and
an
change.
organic book. That
Yes.
I think so.
that
I think so. It's a
adapts.
magical book, dude. It's a magical book.
Maybe that's
It's
it. Maybe
implied. It's magical
the
from the
understand
get-go.
too is like maybe that the book, like
It grants fucking wishes.
the reason why maybe so many people have failed at this book is because they haven't injected all their hopes and dreams, and like maybe that Bastion, the mother's name, in some way represents like his imaginative and like.
Who
That's
knows?
Moonchild.
And maybe
Yeah, with a
Yeah.
name like that, of course his
Yeah.
mother
well, and maybe
fucking was
yeah.
like living in some hokey dokey,
And
like
that-
Right.
whatever you want to do.
dude,
with.
that's the thing, is like maybe that was the thing too, is like the mother also represents his like, well, you know, dad's like, hey, time to get it together, but mom was like, no, dude, keep dreaming, be a dreamer. You know
It's
what I
like-
mean? And that's like,
totally gives us like a family tie situation, right? It's like so weird to like see like what was going on here, like. You know, like this crazy hippie met this like total yuppie, and like they fell in love,
Yeah.
and they had this kid, and then she died, and now the yuppie's left, and he's got to save his kid's imagination.
He was not impacted by her personality at all.
I don't
Has
understand
no
what's going
idea
on
how
here.
to handle this.
Yeah.
In the sitcom world, that's what.
I guess we should have also started the show with none of us ever read the book. So.
we didn't read
True.
the book,
Yeah.
but
Which probably has
Yeah.
a lot of this information that we're wondering, you know.
it's a very I'm sure they probably did go into a deep dive about the family and
Yeah.
whatever, but. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know why the Empress needs
yeah.
her
new
her
name.
groove back.
what. Yeah,
But after she gets
I
it,
think it's just I agree with Cody. It's kind of symbolic of a restart. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of a refresh. Like, yeah, maybe you've suppressed all these emotions, and now you've come to terms with it. You've said the name of the
Well,
person.
also-
that you faced your fear in a sense. And
Yeah,
now you're
exactly.
reborn.
you've gone through these trials. Now you have the courage to face your bullies, even though you're flying through fucking some city on a
Hold on.
dragon.
okay. Before we even get now that
Yeah.
we're at this point,
Yeah.
this is actually the part of the film
That you
like
love.
I've seen now has a totally different meaning to me, and I was kind of like, what the fuck? Okay, so how this ends
I'm
is
so into this
the
right now.
childlike empress is like, Bastion, thank you for giving me a name.
Yeah.
And says, now that you're here, you can have any wish you want. And not only that, but as many wishes as you want.
Yeah.
You don't often get that.
Yeah.
You don't get that option.
You know, you either
in
get
life.
one
So you
wish,
get
three
three.
wish, or no wish.
It's normally the standard amount of
It's
wishes.
never a blank
This
check
is-
of wishes.
A
Yeah,
blank
it's a
check
blank
of wishes.
check of wishes,
He gets
this is true.
whatever wishes he wants. Whatever he desires, he can
Yeah.
create things now, right?
Yeah.
And what does he wish for?
Chase down those bullies with his goddamn dragon.
Let me ask you
what
this
does he
question.
start with?
What should he have wished for?
His mom to be alive.
Fuck yes, thank you, Chris. Immediately I was like, That's not your first
I
fucking
know,
thing.
I know.
It's like, I want to see
know.
my mom one more time.
I did.
It's not
think
that.
About
He
that.
goes for this absolutely petty thing of like, I want to ride Falcor and I want to chase down these fucking bullies. And not only that, this is where the creepiness gets into it, is that as he's chasing the bullies, all the rest of the city understands it. So as I understand
they all see a dragon creature,
Bastion
a monster,
is now terrorizing
a city.
the city of Toronto. And then it goes on to say, like, and Bastion had many wishes, of which none of can I see my fucking mom again.
Really, yeah, really.
So-
strange.
And also, it led me to believe, like, this weird, like, Twilight Zone scenario where the real ending of this is like, and then the real world was destroyed by the petty and childlike fickle ways of a young child as he
Either that-
terrorized and just desired anything he wished.
Either that, or they found him like up in the attic, like he died of like a stroke.
Yeah, right? Like, it takes a really weird twist.
I don't think
Bastion has never lived. He
I don't-
died in 1946.
I don't think his I take issue with his first wish being to see his mom again. And it's because of what we just went through with why he had to give the name. The name was freeing. We just agree that was a step into this process of processing through grief and pain.
Yep.
And since you've processed through that, you don't need to physically see your mom again. You've now moved past that pain, and it just kind of lives with you.
I
Hold
agree.
on,
No, that's where I was
hold
going
on.
with it.
Yeah.
But what I'm
Yep.
saying is, okay, let's give him the credit of saying the first wish is just kind of like, hold on, I don't know if this is fucking real. I'll ask for something ridiculous like flying on my fucking Falcor and going into the real world and like, terrorizing
He doesn't
people.
need that.
Hold
though.
on. Is it now in reality? Is it like, wait a second, I really can get wherever the fuck I want? Wish for my mom to be back alive. Like, when do you test the fucking very edges? I don't
I
buy.
feel like most wishes.
Like
I
right
feel
away.
like most wishes have a limit, and the limit is not bringing back the dead, though.
she didn't
Yeah.
say that. Charlotte never said anything she wanted.
She didn't say that, but if
I
you,
fucking
She didn't
So
say
I
it came
feel
with fucking.
Artex was alive at the end of this
I-
motherfucker. He died.
I feel like. I
Ajax?
feel like that would Ajax. That's what it is. I keep hearing Ajax, and I keep thinking of
A-Track is what you can hear. Yeah.
No, you keep saying
Atex.
I say A-Track.
It's
you
Artex.
say Ajax. I keep hearing Ajax. I keep thinking of Flash Gordon. Dispatch the War Rocket Ajax. No, I just don't think he would do that.
Yeah, I
honestly.
agree.
I feel like he's
I
at a
think he
point
should've
where
done
he
that.
wouldn't.
I'd be like my mom.
No, because
He
Martin
could have
Luther
walked
King.
in the
No,
house.
that-
He could have
no,
walked
no.
in, and mom and dad were in there at the table
that's
like
when it
nothing
turns
happened.
into-
It
Nope.
would have been fake.
That's when it turns into a real Monkey Paw situation, and she comes out wanting her birthday cake, creep show style.
No.
It's like a zombie.
I don't
She's
know.
back.
Seems like all these wishes.
Moonshot wants a cake.
Yeah. Also, do you think the Empress goes by Moonchild? Do you think she goes by MC, Mick? What do you think she goes by?
I don't know.
Empress?
See, after getting a new name, you think she still goes by?
Childlike-
You think she still
childlike
goes by
Gambino.
Empress?
Like Mooney C.
They're like, hey,
Childlike Gambino.
yeah, they come up to her. They're like,
Sorry.
Moonchild. She's like, ooh, he gave it to me. I don't really like it. Just call me Empress.
It was like an offshoot. She's just like, you don't have to actually call me Moonshine.
No, I just
I
needed
really
it to
thought he was
win.
going to come up with something
Something better?
a little better
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah, we just needed it to get to progress the story, but now that it's done, we just go back and call me Empress or whatever the hell.
I'm not really into Moonchild.
Yeah.
Which scene
I'm
gave
not
you?
feeling Moonshine.
Which scene gave you the biggest "what the fuck is happening right now" in this movie moment?
I think I already kind of said it when me and Mike were on the same page on this. Was the your introduction to the dragon? Like again, it just gave me such a weird rapey vibe from the dragon, having him scratch behind his ear and just overly emoting to it. I don't know. To me, that one caught me. I was just like, "What the fuck am I watching?"
What about you, Mike?
It's between Kyle's and then the ending. I still am like my reaction to it. Like, you don't pick your mom,
So you, like,
that
get all that
still
power?
bothers me to this. Like, you have like godlike powers at this point in time. And at no point in time you don't choose that. And like, I don't know. The ending, and maybe it ties into part 2.
Mom returns.
I totally don't remember. No, I don't ever remember that.
Return of the Mom.
I don't
Revenge of
remember
the Mom?
ever remember that happening. But
No,
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it does happen.
Maybe it happens in 3.
Oh,
Maybe we
okay.
don't know. Maybe it happens in 3.
Jack Black is his mom.
Yeah. Maybe Jack Black is his mom.
I am
mother.
Moonchild reincarnate.
It's me, Moonchild. It's like, that's weird.
Chris, Chris, you got a what the fuck
I
moment?
don't have really any what the fuck moments except the end, like where now fantasy world is intermingled with real
Reality and-
world, and he's riding a fucking dragon through the streets, and people are just like ducking, like oh
Oh, yeah.
fuck.
You wouldn't die?
Like it's truly.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. It's truly a monstrous beast to just be it makes sense in fantasy world, but you know, if you're getting a cup of coffee and that thing flies by, that's like Godzilla and
Like,
shit.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What happens then if the world is reacting to this thing? What, you know, they call DEFCON 4. They start calling out some fighter jets.
Yeah.
Like,
They
what
s-
does Bastion
they
do?
scramble
That's why
the
I feel like
jets.
the only way this ends is Bastion becomes like
We
a
have-
dark, godlike creature that fucking oppresses humanity.
Somebody's
No.
flying on a poorly
fickle
groomed
dreams and
dog.
wishes.
What you don't know, this is actually a prequel for the movie Men in Black. We have a team for this. These kind of things. They have flashy things.
They fight aliens. They don't fight
No, they.
Yeah, they don't
the
fight
imaginations
mythical.
of children.
Yeah.
They're done. You think the loud cricket is gonna fucking take out the imaginations of Bastion? No.
Yeah, they will. But, okay, so I would say for me, the what the fuck, it's the horse, man. Like still to this day,
Oh yeah, it is a fucked up scene.
it's just a fucked up scene. It's just it's not as bad as I
It's
remember
character
it.
building.
It's not as bad as I remember it as a kid, but goddamn, is it still like, oh man, they just killed a horse in a kids movie? Like, you know, as a kid, it's pretty goddamn traumatizing. All right, what do you say we wrap this up and we rate this Mammer
Wait.
Jammer? Yeah.
Well, let's finally the last question.
Well, I figured we can put that in our reviews.
Yeah.
What is it?
It is.
Oh yeah, I guess that is. Okay, let's introduce the question,
Okay.
Yeah, the question
and then
is,
we'll all answer it afterwards because it kind of
During our review.
During
during
our
the
review.
review.
and
So
it
if you
says,
wanna
do you
bring-
secretly hate to like this movie because same? Which I'm kind of confused on what that means. Do I secretly hate to like this movie? Is that I hate to like it?
I think it's because it's so batshit crazy at points in times. Like, is the question being like,
Do I hate it?
is it a so bad it's good film?
Do you hate
Yeah.
that you like it?
No?
Do you secretly hate to like this movie?
Okay. It's a weird way to put it.
It is. Good
like-
job, Sarah.
What are we rating it? Did she give us a Sarah? Thanks, Sarah.
Oh,
Sarah. Yeah, she did, kind of. She wanted to rate this movie overall rating 108 weird and confusing things like sad sneezing rock turtles and iridescent flying dogs.
I think we can only give her one.
Yeah, we are on a 5-point scale, so I don't know how that
Yeah, she
how
would-
that translates. That
she
would
went-
be like a 5.5, I guess.
Is that like a 1.8? Because she secretly hates it. She hates to like it. She likes to hate it. I don't know.
It's confusing. Let's go on to our reviews.
Let's go.
Let's rate it. Let's rate it.
Turtles.
Let's just let's
Sneezing
do
turtles?
Let's do iridescent flying dogs.
Sure, luck dragons, then, I
Sure.
guess.
Yes.
Yeah, luck dragons.
Unless you look up iridescent flying dogs.
I bet you the
can you
only
can
thing
you,
that comes
can you
up is
please
that.
Google that?
It's
Yeah,
just
please.
gonna be Falcor.
I'll go first on this one. I will come in at a 3 for me. If you would have asked me as a kid, I would have said a 5. But for me, this is a 3 now. The reason I say that is because Kyle hit the nail on the head for me earlier. The mom thing is brought up, and it's just like it's never really. You have to really look for it. And it's never really like hit over the head like how damaging this was to this kid. And we're supposed to think it's so damaging that he disappears into a magical book and then comes out the other side with magical powers. So it's I don't know, it never hits that strong enough for me. Here's the things that keep this movie going though. Special effects,
Mm-hmm.
the sets, the lighting, the camera work. This movie has some fun elements, but it has a lot of sad shit in it too, which kind of also brings it down for me. So I'm at a 3. It's a fun movie, like in a way. It also makes you think, but yeah, it's not as good as I remember it.
Yeah, I'll go after you.
Kyle,
I'll come in at the same 3 on this one. And for a lot of the same stuff you said, like I do feel like there's a bigger character story in this film that isn't fleshed out. Like 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 you said, I'm supposed to believe that Bastion is dealing with a lot of this stress and this sadness and what have you, and rightfully so. His mom's gone, so the director didn't sell that to me well enough. Like, it does kind of feel like there is a slight separation of story that's happening. I mean, we have the kid Bastion reading the book, and then we have what's going on inside of Fantasia from my perspective. Like, I don't feel like those stories, there are parts that are supposed to honestly connect them together, and those feel almost kind of forced a little bit. Like, here's a forced connection. He's seeing him in a mirror. Cool. But, like, I would have loved to see a lot more of those stories blended and mingled together and woven together in a tighter way, so that as I'm watching it, I really am feeling like not only am I getting one adventure story, I'm actually getting two adventure stories, because I'm seeing two characters go through these trials together along the way. And I just didn't get that from this watch of the film. And yeah, for that, I'm going to put it at a 3. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Special effects were great.
Does anyone want to jump in for the next one? Anyone race into it?
No, I like the old way how you
Okay.
pick somebody.
Mike.
Mike's so depressed.
His hands used to be so strong.
so
Cody, your
strong.
hands used to be so strong.
You've
You guys
lost
have
your
control
power.
over this.
I'm gonna give it a 4. But I agree with Cody as well. Would have been a 5. Kid Mike would have been like, what 4? What the fuck are you talking about? But seeing it now with adult eyes and objective eyes, for that matter, like, you see like a little bit of the flaws in it. Again, I agree with Kyle. Like, it's just like they're trying to make this connection between, Fantasia and this kid's loss of his mother, but also, like, in a weird way, like, there's parts of it where I'm like, or is it about like the loss of imagination and dreams in general for society? Like, and since those 3 things are never actually quite fleshed out, like, I feel like it gets lost. And literally in the case with the mother, where I feel like that's weird. Like, the kid seems like, okay, I'm cool. Infinite wishes. I don't care about my mom. Like, we're not even gonna bring that up again.
Yeah, but dude, seriously, who needs a mom when you have so many wishes?
All right.
Jesus.
I have infinite wishes. I don't think I can fit my mom into any of those. It just, I don't know. That's a part that actually bothers me a little bit about the film, but I still think the special effects in this film are just top notch.
Dude, for real.
I love them. I love all the creature design in this film. Even the weird wolf with the nose that never stops moving.
Always sniffing.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just like a lot going on with it that was just well done. And the imagination really comes through, too. Even with the rock eater, and he's like eating the rocks, and the rocks are falling down on these
Yeah.
guys, and it's like a danger to them. Like, part of me is just like, that's something that only like Lewis Carroll or somebody would come up with. Like, that's something from like an Alice in Wonderland world. It takes a lot of deep imagination to come up with a concept like that.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, credit to the author of the book. But, I mean, even to bring it on film that way, I think it's just excellently done.
So 4 for Mike. ABS, always be sniffing.
Who's sniffing? Is it me?
No, that's the wolf.
Oh, man, ABS.
Our man ABS always be sniffing.
Always be sniffing.
Nose never
Could
stop.
be always be sneezing.
This thing
for
is
the
always
turtle.
moving.
Oh
Yeah, always
man,
be
ABS works for
sneezing.
everything in this
It
movie.
really does. A
Damn.
tray be
Horse
Sleeping?
sleeping, slipping.
Should we sleeping on dragon?
Atrex always be swamping.
Atrex be swinking, sinking.
Atrex be sinking. Oh shit, that is one.
Always be sinking.
That is what Chris said. That
Artex be stinking.
Yeah, Artex.
Atrex.
Artex.
I just keep-
I know.
I
I've been
keep
saying it
thinking
wrong the whole
Atrex.
show, Chris. Please jump onto the joke at any time.
I love that dubstep song from Atrex.
Yeah.
Shit's tight.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fire.
You mean their song "Always Be Sinking"?
ABS always be singing by Atrex.
ABS.
ABS owns this movie. All right, Chris.
Oh god, it was not hard for me to put my kid eyes back on when I was watching this movie. Right away, snap back into it,
See?
and you know, like I get what you guys are saying. They didn't delve into like some of the more important themes that were probably like on the underside of the film, like which is the death of the mom, the single dad, the kid, getting picked on.
Why is no
whatever.
one looking for this child?
Why is nobody looking
Yeah.
for him? Yeah, especially during like a tornado. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's okay because this movie I feel like was made for kids, like ultimately, and kids don't need a lot of explanation for things. Like I do remember getting the fact that the mom was not in the picture, or the mom had died. You can sense that emotion even as a young child. And then going into this fantasy world, man, they just drop you right into it. It doesn't take long to get into the Neverending Story. And right away you're introduced to these wacky characters. And for me, like the Neverending Story created a world that I think is iconic. It's definitely got tons of imagery that's burned into my brain. Even down to that theme song that Cody keeps singing.
A never-ending story.
There it is.
I mean,
Chris.
Even some of the other music that was in this film, it really brought back a lot of nostalgia for me when I was watching this, more so than most of the films that we've gone back to watch. And getting to that horse scene, like I gotta admit, like I shed some tears during that moment. And there was quite a few moments in this film that still emotionally impacted me. Like the cues were still right on for me. There's some corny moments too. Kyle was saying there's some sound issues that like where it goes from this really intense music. I can think right after he kills Gamork, it's this really intense music and then immediately cuts to this weird, like it's a hard cut. So there's some technical shit that, definitely knocks it down a peg, but on an emotional level, like on a story level, on an effects level, like this film is damn near perfect for me. I'm giving it a 4.5.
Nice.
Yeah, it still ticks all the right boxes for me all the way through. And it was really fun to go back and watch it because I definitely picked up on more of like the dramatic element, and it made me think like, wow, this was kid stuff. Like, there's tits in this movie. Like, and as a kid, did I realize what I was looking at? Probably not. But, I didn't think too much about it. But going back and watching as an adult, you're like, man, they do push the envelope a little bit for like it being a kid's film. And this is the dark time of, the dark time of family and kids movies. And I miss that era.
I do miss that. No, I agree with you. I brought it up on the show a few times, like difference between 80s kids movies, 90s kids movies, like that sense of like
real danger and death.
darkness,
Yes.
death. Like they dealt with like really adult shit.
Yeah, I thought Atreyu was fucking awesome. I thought as an actor, he
was cool enough that they became a hard rock band.
He's not in that band.
No, he's not. But there's a band called Atreyu.
Oh, I know.
Like a
what
fucking
was that
death metal
iconic?
band or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, that iconic as a hero. A child hero. Like, I mean, I don't know. There's just so many elements. Like, I think all the acting is fantastic. All the characters are super fun. I was actually gonna say, the witch character that lives in the cave with the scientist. She really reminded me of like maybe she influenced Bette Midler for the Winifred character in Hocus Pocus. I don't know why I saw similarities between those two characters, but anyways,
because you like the stretch.
4.5. 4.5 iridescent luck dragons.
Chris always got a shovel out.
He's stretch that out there a
He
little
likes
bit.
to dig.
It's like the dig. It's acting like he's in the swamp and he's trying to connect the horse.
I'm getting out of that swamp. I ain't sad.
I ain't sad. 4.5.
Yeah, I ain't sad. Who's sad about that?
All right, guys, that is our show for this week. Do us a favor. Head over to cultfilmandreview.com. Give us a request for what you would like to review, and hopefully you will get it in before the next February. But
I feel like we might have to do this more often.
So make sure you head over to cultfilmandreview.com. You get your what you want to request in, and then head over to iTunes. Leave us a review. We will give you a shout out at the end of the show. Then make sure you follow us on social media. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to say this. In March 15th, is that correct? 13th?
14th.
15th.
God damn.
Jesus.
March 15th.
There you go.
March 15th.
Friday.
Did puberty just hit you? Hey!
March 15th at Film Bar.
At Film Bar, we will be showing Pink Flamingos. So make sure you come out for that.
Bring your barf bag.
It's for real.
Yeah.
And that's a true story. It's gonna be fun. I think that's gonna be fun.
Good group
It's
watch.
gonna be a good group watch.
So
It is.
excited.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a ton of fun. Then when you're done with that, make sure you follow us on social media, Cult Film in Review on Instagram, Cult Film _review on Twitter. Also check us out on Facebook, YouTube, all over the place. You can follow Kyle. Yeah.
You can follow me on Instagram at cultfilm_Kyle.
You can follow Chris.
Cultfilm_Chris on Instagram.
You can follow Mike.
At Mike Solucio on Twitter.
And you can follow me at VHS Collect on Instagram and Snapchat. That's our show for this week. Remember, if you're going to join a cult, make sure they watch good movies. We'll see you next time.